Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. Today we'll be doing chapter 12, and I actually don't know how many are left. I feel like we're approaching the end, so I don't... 13 if there is one, but, oh, I don't know. I can't even promise that. It's T-minus 4 hours till I'm leaving for my flight, so we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into this, frankly. I'm so excited. Stuff's really been building up. Last episode, Rena in the rain, man. I don't know. I feel like Keichi's about to make a decision he maybe shouldn't. Right? I don't know. Or we're gonna learn something about Rena, like some big twist. Or there's so many ways this could go. I'm just so excited to see it, man. See what happens after that. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it, man. We already viewed all the tips, so let's just get to it, man. I guess I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any sleep. I tried to stay awake all night. There were definitely gaps in my memory. I guess I kept nodding off and jerking awake in a panic all night. I spent all night hugging the metal bat and sat on top of the futon used to barricade my door. Waiting, watching just in case someone tried to break in through my window. I left this spot. Someone would break through the door, sending the futon flying, and attack me. Yeah, he's so paranoid. I think he's probably right to be, but if I stopped watching the window, someone would break through the glass and attack me. I started telling myself I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. Not being so vulnerable scared the living daylights out of me. Fair. If sleep meant taking that risk, I didn't need it. It was so much better to just stay awake. I mean, that's how you make your paranoia worse, but at some point during that endless cycle of nodding off and jolting awake, light began to shine outside. That was it. It wasn't so much the morning as it was just the sun simply having risen. I snuck a peek out through the curtains, and it was gone. I couldn't see her anywhere no matter how hard I looked. Finally, I could breathe a deep sigh of relief. The night was finally over. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired. I didn't feel like sleeping at the moment. I still had time. But I needed to make my own breakfast, so I'd better get started soon. Skipping school was also an option. With my mom gone, it'd be easy to play hooky. Honestly, I debated it. The risk involved in leaving my house was incalculable, so staying holed up in here was probably my safest option. But staying here wouldn't solve anything. Oishi-san wouldn't help me without cold, hard evidence. Neither he, or my parents. So unless I found some sort of proof, these relentless nights would never end. I stretched my body, tilted my head back, closed my eyes just like I did every morning. Yeah. You gotta find something, man. Because what he went through last night is something he can't do every day. I regulated my breathing and regained my senses. Calm down, Keichi Maibara. Let's go to school. Let's wait until they set their trap for me. But that didn't mean I was just going to twiddle my thumbs. I needed to avoid that trap and secure irrefutable evidence. Take note of the plates of any car that drives by. See someone suspicious? Check their clothes and face. I wasn't just protecting myself. I was preparing myself to turn their attack against them and retaliate. The tension was similar to when two samurai were both aiming to slay each other with a single motion as they drew their katanas. I was not at a disadvantage. I would have a chance to retaliate. I finally felt a bit of courage growing in my chest. Alright, let's go to school. I tightened my grip on Satoshi's bat. He was the only partner I could count on. Satoshi, please lend me your strength. Dang. And entrust your dying regrets to me, since you were probably murdered. I'll make sure I dispel them. Dang. Boy, calling on the spirit of Satoshi. With renewed resolve, I checked the clock. It was still early. Of course, I was going to school by myself today. I didn't want to run into Rena or Mion. I needed to leave now. The shattered fragments of the cupboard were still strewn all over the entryway. Right. I meant to clean that up last night, but never got around to it with the phone call and everything. My parents came back and saw this while I was at school. I would never hear the end of it. Still, I'd be wasting time if I cleaned it up right now, considering what would happen if I ran into Rena or Mion. It wouldn't be too late to clean it up after I got back home. Making extra certain that the doors were locked, I left the house. My uniform was still covered in mud from yesterday, so I left it in the washer. Today I was going to go to school in a tracksuit. By wearing a different outfit this morning, my mind was forced to accept that today was different from yesterday. I had a hunch. Today might be the day I get killed. Keep your guard up, Keichi Maibara. The only one who gets to decide today is my last is me. What, practicing a swing? I spent the morning practicing my swing like it was my natural routine. After a while, Ren arrived at school. Our eyes met, but we said nothing. And I said nothing about last night, as if it never happened. But I could see that those events were real by the wounds carved into her fingers. I just heard her telling Satoko and the others that the bandages were from hurting herself in the kitchen. Obviously not going to say what really happened, though it wasn't like it bothered me. The details that Oishi-san shared about Rena's incident before her transfer played vividly in my mind. Now that I knew about it, I couldn't even dream of Rena as a cute, ideal girl.
Kei-chan! 相変わらず甲子園一直線だね.
It was Mion. I had already sensed her approached, so I wasn't that surprised.
ミオンか。分かってるなら放っておいてくれよ。
Dang.
俺は甲子園で忙しいんだ。
I gave her a curt reply without my usual jokes. And I gave the bat an even larger swing, tacitly keeping Mion from getting any closer.
ケイちゃんさ、ちょっと休憩。
I think Mion got the message, but she still urged me to give it a rest.
ホームルームまであとちょっとだろ。もう一汗かかせてくれよ。
I swung the bat even harder as a sign of my refusal.
ケイちゃんって野球好きだったっけ？
最近好きになった。
最近って昨日から？
Yeah, pretty much.
分かってんなら聞くなよ。
あれまあ、スポーツマンにしては爽やかじゃないお返事だことで。
気が散る。放っておいてくれ。
Wants nothing to do with any of his friends right now. I ignored Mion and kept swinging. He's just gonna stand there? Normally she'd get mad or bored and leave if someone gave her the cold shoulder like this. But Mion just stood there, waiting patiently for me to stop swinging. And sense any hostility. I feel like, she's been here before. She's done that. She might, I don't know, she might just have an idea of what's going on right now. But we were at school, in plain view. I doubt she'd suddenly attack me here. Was that too naive? Still, I was starting to get tired. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to take a break and hear her out.
何か用なんだろう。なんだよ。
Sweat poured from me as I stopped swinging. I noticed my shoulders were heaving as I breathed. I cursed my lack of exercise. Yeah, you might not want to wear yourself out now. At this rate, I might not be able to move as needed when the time came. I should probably keep practicing my swings to build stamina in addition to the excuse for carrying the bat around with me.
用ってわけでもないけどさ、お疲れのようなら後にするけど。
今でいい。
Only dealing with you right now because I judged the situation to be safe. Talking to you alone away from others? That's out of the question.
さ、
Mion was uncharacteristically trying to choose her words. But unlike Oishi-san, it didn't look like she was going to talk about something I'd rather not hear. Mion was puzzled, trying to find the right thing to say. But then she gave a hearty laugh to rake herself out of that mire.
おじさんダメだわ、こういうの。ボキャ品は辛いわ。
なんだよ、突然。言いたいことがあるならはっきりと言えよ。
やめてよ、素振り。
She cut straight to the point. Her request was so frank, I didn't understand it for a moment. I'd already stopped swinging to listen to her, hadn't I?
ちゃんとやめてるだろ。
That's not what she meant. She meant for good, dog.
じゃなくて、今日で終わりにしてほしいの。悪いけど。
It took me some time to understand what she was asking for. What's wrong with swinging a bat?
なんでだよ。余計なお世話だよ。別に誰にも迷惑かけてないだろ。
かけてる。
Mion said it flat out. This didn't make any sense and was really irritating.
俺がいつ誰に迷惑をかけたよ。
Mion was at a loss for words, but she finally made up her mind and spoke. But she stuttered as she said it.
だってさ、ケイちゃん、それ人のバットだしさ。無断借用は悪いし。
転校した生徒の忘れ物だろ。 本人が取りに来るまで借りてるだけだよ。
ああ、まあね。転校したし。
Yeah, transferred. Mion grew uncharacteristically flustered. I made it all too clear that his transfer was a lie.
でも変わってるよな。兄貴だけ転校なんだろ。妹は転校しなかったんだろ。
I thought they were cousins. They were actually siblings? Yeah, okay. Mion couldn't hide her reaction as my words shook her up.
ケイちゃん、知ってたの？
北条聡、聡子の兄貴だろ。去年、鬼隠しにあって消えた。
Unable to respond to that, Mion fell silent.
レナにも言われた。なんで素振りを始めたのかってな。聡もやってたんだってな。
Webcam is finicky.
素振り。それも失踪の直前に。これってさ、お社様のたたりに合う前兆ってわけなのか？
Dang, he's just going at it. Mion panicked and looked around.
頼むよ、ケイちゃん。お社様の話はうかつにしないでよ。
Man, with the way they act, sometimes it's so hard to believe that they're not like somewhat on his side, but at the same time, we've seen how they act. It's hard to believe they're fully on his side. Like something's up here. We just don't know what it is. Right? Like, could it actually be some supernatural explanation of Oyashiro-sama is just like taking control of people or something? I don't know, man. Because it just feels like, I guess, kind of nuanced. It doesn't feel like, you know, everybody is completely evil, but it doesn't feel like any of them are completely good either. You know, like, we have evidence for both sides, and so I feel like the explanation is probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, that they are just both. But this, I don't know, we'll see, but this feels like a good faith effort to stop us from going down that path, and it felt like a good faith effort from Rena, too, up until all of a sudden her demeanor shifted. I don't know. It's hard to derive what it actually means, but...
私はそんなに信じてないからいいけどさ、他のみんなはすごく信じてる。
Aeon thinks she doesn't believe in Oyashiro-sama.
レナなんかやばいくらいに。
Oh yeah, we know Rena believes in Oyashiro-sama.
やばいくらいに？
とにかく、みんな怖がってるんだよ。もしもこれが悪ふざけならやめな。サトシの真似は絶対にやめて。
I was the one who was scared. Who do I have to thank for taking up this bat in the first place? But it still unsettled me knowing that my actions were overlapping with Satoshi's. It would be one thing if someone suggested it, but I thought I was making my own decisions.
先に言っとく。俺はサトシのことは何も知らない。みんなが隠してたからな。
隠してたってわけじゃ。
Well, Rena did.
毎年起こる事件のこと隠してたろ。
それはケイちゃんを
怖がらせたくなかったってのか？それが理由で俺だけのけ者かよ。
いや、そんなつもりじゃ。
Well, that's what happened.
ミオンに直にダム現場で事件がなかったかって聞いたよな。
They kept him out of it. Maybe they were just trying to protect him, but they kept him out of it.
ミオンはないって言ったじゃないか。バラバラ殺人があったのによ。嘘つき野郎。
They really did.
ごめん。嘘ってわけじゃ。
Okay, that's cap, but...
仲間ってのは隠し事なんかなしだろ。そうだろ。じゃあお前らは仲間じゃない。
Dang.
ケイちゃん、そんなのって。
Mia looked helpless and flustered. Was I imagining the tears in her eyes? I never could have imagined Mio acting like this.
ああ、それに先日の見舞いのおはぎ、あれうまかったぜ。血が出るかと思った。やったのはどっちだ？お前かレナか？
私。
Dang! She admitted it so easily. See what I mean? Like, simultaneously... I don't know. Maybe you could see it as... Like, she knew, right, that he wouldn't actually eat it, and it was just a warning to stop pursuing such a dangerous line, but, like, I don't know. I mean, they're teenagers. At the end of the day, they do kind of dumb things. But, like, it's so hard because everybody, like his friends, Mion and Rena especially, have erred on the side of both good and bad in a lot of their actions. I couldn't help but be surprised at how easy that was.
死ぬかもしれなかったんだぞ。仲間にあんな真似をするのかよ。
そんなちょっとしたいたずらじゃん。
That is all it was. I could believe it. That's the worst part. I could believe that his paranoia is causing him to look at what was supposed to be a little prank. I could see it forcing him to... or making him believe this was a murder attempt, or a warning, you know? Makes sense. Mion gave me a wry smile mixed with confusion, causing even more anger to well up inside me.
あれがいたずらで済むかよ。
I grabbed Mion by the collar and lifted her up. Oh, bro, chill out. That wasn't the same as putting Tabasco sauce in a piece of mochi. It was a needle, a sewing needle. If I had swallowed that, it lodged in my throat. What did she think would happen? Mion's face froze as her body rattled in fear. This wasn't the Mion Sonozaki I knew anymore.
とにかくお前は仲間じゃない。仲間じゃない奴の指図は受ける言われはない。俺のことは当分放っておいてもらうぜ。いいな。
Mion wasn't replying anymore.
俺を消そうとしても簡単にはいかないからな。お前らは最初から警察に疑われてんだ。サトシを消せたように簡単に消せると思うなよ。
Ooh, okay, he really just came out with it, huh? That's the type of line that could make or break things, right? Like, that's the type of line that could cause her to flip a switch, right? Or could cause her to be like, wait, what? I said it clearly. This was my declaration of war.
俺も過去の事件はお前らが怪しいと思ってる。ダムの反対運動の時からお前が警察の世話になってたこともよく隠しきれてると思うなよ。いいな。
どうしてそんなことまで。
Mion stood there with a dumbstruck look on her face. That was when I heard the principal ringing the bell for school. It was time for morning
行こ
homeroom.
うぜ。委員長がいないとまずいだろ。ん？
At that moment, for the first time, I realized Mion was sobbing as tears ran down her cheeks.
ひどいよ、ケイちゃん。
み
I wanted to console her, but I shut my mouth. I had no need to feel guilty.
俺ホームルーム遅れるなよ。
Dang! He just left her there. That's vile. That's vile. Although, after what happened with Rena, I mean, he knows it's the right thing to do here. If he truly fears for his life and thinks Mion and Rena are threats, right? Just leaving her there instead of trying to appeal to her while she's vulnerable, I mean, it's the right move. I left Mion, still shaking, as I turned around to head for the entrance. Dang, man. I had no idea how troubling it was to make a girl cry. Behind my back, I could hear her muttering. It was a faint mutter as she was speaking to herself.
そっか。
え？
She wasn't saying it to anyone. It was Mion talking to herself. It was a sobbing voice that had a kind of giddy, cursing tone. I inadvertently stopped and turned back towards her.
ケイちゃんに全部バラしたの。
Yeah.
あの野郎か。
So it was 100% the correct move to not, like, try to go up and comfort her or something. She balled up her fists as her tears continued to rain down. She glared at a spot at the ground with a terrifying yet smiling face, cursing. A chill ran down my spine from that demonic expression. This transformation. Mion's transformation was different from Rena's.
あの時殺しとくんだったな。
Hmm.
今年で定年だからって容赦してやった恩も忘れやがって。
Retiring this year. Is she talking about Oishi-san?
ちくしょう。ちくしょう。あのじじい。絶対に殺してやる。
Jesus Christ. I mean, that's just undeniable. I keep trying to see the good in them, but at the same time, it's been obvious that there's something amiss with Rena and Mion, right? So, a lot of the things we see good in them, like, they're very good at lying, right? Misconstruing things, right? Making you believe maybe it wasn't so bad when it really was, you know? Whew. I mean, what we just saw from her is pretty much irrefutable, you know? I mean, I haven't really been arguing that maybe they're completely innocent, but like, you know, I don't know that I expected just that, you know, straight up. Or basically confessing. Felt like the air itself had begun distorting. With Mion at the center, the world had begun to twist and spiral, bending, whirling. This is the first time I'd known, no, experienced such a visage. And they just went to class anyways. Mion made up an excuse for her red eyes by saying there was something wrong with her contacts. After that, neither Rena nor Mion spoke to me for the rest of the day. Neither Satoko nor Rika-chan looked me in the eye. Strangely, I didn't feel hurt. Everything had just went back to the way it was. The month since I transferred in had been almost too much fun. That was all. School was supposed to be something like this to begin with. I should have disliked that feeling. But today, it felt oddly refreshing. I mean, if I knew if that's what my friends were doing, I would be pretty happy about it too. The bell rung, sounding the end of the monotonous school day, which had felt so tense, yet so dull. Since it would cause a lot of unpleasant memories if they asked me to join into the club activities, I promptly started preparing to go home without even looking at them. I stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag, wrapped my hand around Satoshi's now familiar bat, and heading towards the entrance. Are they just gonna let him get away? I was assailed by both the exhausting relief that nothing had happened today and the tiring possibility of the same thing repeating tomorrow. But deep down inside me, far beneath, in the recesses of my heart, achingly, I knew this would be the last day of this cycle. Yeah, most likely. The worst part is, bro got his last chance, he just got his last chance put on a hit list, you know, Oishi. Oishi's toast now. I couldn't tell how the ending would be, whether it would end as I wished it to end, or if it would end as I hoped it wouldn't. Regardless, in my current state, there was something more important than how things would end. There was something I wanted to know. Why did I have to be killed? How did it come to this? Why? For what purpose? The sunlight was relentless. The sun, the heat, even the air. It wouldn't give me my answers. Or could it be the cries of the Higurashi were desperately trying to tell me something? Somewhere, mixed in with their shrieks, Tomitake-san and Satoshi were also probably trying to tell me something. I simply haven't been able to realize it yet. When I do realize it, I wonder if I will be amongst the Higurashi fruitlessly crying to the next victim. Ooh, that's a line. That is such a good line. Glancing down at my feet, I saw a Higurashi on its back, spasming weakly. Wee. There's still much of the summer left, yet this one was already chirping its last song. I couldn't tell what it was saying, no matter how hard I listened. But I had to try. I had to try to listen to what it was desperately trying to tell me. At that moment, the shrills of the Higurashi ceased all at once. Oh, that can't be a good sign. As if they'd huddled together, fearing that the person who'd brought them to their dreadful fate had arrived. There was no mistaking it. A presence was approaching. The sound of footsteps was almost non-existent. The Higurashi hadn't warned me by ending their chirping. I wouldn't have noticed. My exhaustion left me in a heartbeat. In its place was a rush of adrenaline that sharpened all of my senses. I was just barely able to hold back that creeping, suffocating feeling of horror. It wasn't something I could hold back for long. And in this moment when I needed to be razor sharp, I was able to retain my composure. I wasn't going to shout like I did yesterday. I hid myself calmly amongst the trees, waiting for my pursuer's shadow. Did I get them to pass by me? No. Since I was able to hear their footsteps, they were probably also able to hear mine. They might have already been able to tell that I'd hidden myself and was holding my breath. The person tailing me was a Rena, just like yesterday. If it was Rena, I wouldn't hold back. I could just yell at her and make her go ahead like yesterday. If it wasn't Rena, it would depend on how they acted, I guess. The footsteps ambled closer. I swallowed, wiped my clammy hands on my pants, and readjusted the grip on the bat. I could tell that the fear that I had beaten back once was now waiting for another chance, for another opening to come at me. Ooh, could it be? I peeked out from behind the tree at the person following me. Okay. It makes sense. My imagination hadn't led me astray. It was Rena. There was a bit of a relief as I realized it was someone I knew. That feeling left me in an instant. This wasn't the same Rena that I knew. Her eyes were dark and lifeless, but her mouth appeared as if it was carved into a crescent. Yes, it looked like she was grinning slightly. And in her right hand was a hatchet. Yep. Yeah, saw that one coming. I hid myself behind the tree once again and recalled the unbelievable sight I just saw. What was that just now? The embodiment of terror, laid bare. Baseball, practicing my swing. There were tons of excuses for me to be carrying a bat. But for that hatchet? There's no excuse for that. A hatchet. Just like that?
Keiichi-kun.
Murder.
かくれんぼかなかな
Stop with the, cutesy tendencies, of repeating yourself. My heart was pounding. Hard enough that I had trouble breathing. The little composure I had able to hold on to was now crushed. In its place, cold sweat gushed forth, covering my entire body, letting me know precisely what kind of emotion had taken hold. Not good, not good, not good. I wasn't able to hide myself completely. She already knew I was here.
レナを驚かせようとしたのかなかな
No, just trying to hide. I decided that it would be better to... Oh goodness, can't read. I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now, since there was still space between us, than to allow Rena to come any closer. I adjusted my grip on the bat again, readying myself mentally, and stepped out from behind the tree.
ケイチくん見つけた
Jesus. Rena was pleased that she found me, eliciting a mysterious giggle. Her mouth was smiling, but her eyes told me she was displeased by the fact that I had been hiding. Those eyes. They were just so empty, my legs began to quiver. Not good. In the pit of my stomach, some sort of viscous hot and cold substance began spreading around. If I allowed it, the substance would slip into my bloodstream and undoubtedly freeze all the organs in my body. Good, not good. I'll be devoured by Rena at this rate. Strike back. Don't lose.
何の用だよ
I blustered, hiding behind my bravado. But Rena didn't flinch one bit.
ケイチくんと同じ帰り道だよ
じゃあそのナタは何だよ
じゃあケイチくんのそのバットは何なのかな
俺は素振りで
Yeah, that's a flimsy excuse, dog.
じゃあレナは宝探しなの
Rena gave a flippant explanation as to why she had such a fearsome weapon.
宝探し
I mean, she's used this exact hatchet to go treasure hunting before.
ダム現場の宝の山にねまた新しいかいいのを見つけたのだからねそれを発掘するために必要なの
信じるかよそんなの
信じないよね
Good God, man. Rena's laugh was obviously very strange. I'd seen Rena's transformation many times before, but the one today was completely different. Like her mischievous tone and the shrewd glint in her eyes. It wasn't something that roundabout. I'm not sure what to say. It was just so obvious.
待ってよケイチくん
What is she laughing about? Rena didn't stop walking, even as she let out that eerie laugh. Whenever Rena got too close to me, I would scurry away and turn back towards her. This cycle repeated over and over. No matter how you looked at it, I was being chased by Rena and was trying to escape.
ついてくるなよ
それはできない相談だよレナの家もこっちだもん
Man, that sure is inconvenient, huh? When I met with Ren on this road yesterday, she cowered and trembled as she followed my commands. But today was different. Ren didn't show a hint of trepidation. Actually, was I the one who was cowering? If the way home for Ren and me was the same, that's fine. I just changed my route. That'd work out, wouldn't it? I turned onto a side street I'd never been down and knew little about. Ren saw me do that and followed me while laughing. Why? Why? Aren't you going home? Then just go home down the street you normally do. Why would you follow me down this weird little side road? Those thoughts screamed in my head, eventually spilling out of my mouth. The tone of my voice was already tinged with terror.
ケイチ君とお話ししたいから。ケイチ君もレナとお話ししたいんじゃないかな。
Man, he better not say yes.
俺は何も話したいことなんかない。
I mean, I think that's cap, but if he enjoys life, he shouldn't try to talk about anything with her.
嘘だよね。相談したいこときっとあるはずだよ。
ない。レナと話すことなんか何もないよ。
嘘だよね。
嘘じゃないよ。
嘘だ。
Jesus, man. Rena's scream echoed, startling some nearby birds into flight. I remember the way that jump scared me the first time, yo. Now I just wait for it every time I get the creepy eyes. I cringed in fear. The only other thing I could do was increase my pace.
お話ししようよ、ケイチ君。お話。
You are going to get axe murdered. Why was I running down this unfamiliar and deserted street?
ケイチ君には悩んでることがあるんじゃないかな。
Yeah, you.
ないよ。何も悩んでない。
嘘だ。
Even though I was running, even though Rena was walking, why wasn't I getting any further away?
わかるよ。わかる。レナはわかるよ。怖いんだよね、ケイチ君。
Yes, very much so.
怖くなんかない。何も怖いことなんか。
嘘だ。
Yeah, she's just fully lost it, huh? My breathing grew heavy and it felt like my legs were giving out from beneath me. And I wasn't even breaking a sweat.
レナだけは相談に乗ってあげられるよ。今度こそ乗ってあげられる。
I had no idea what she was talking about or what exactly she wanted to do.
今度こそ相談に乗ってあげられる。サトシ君の時とは違うもの。
When she said Satoshi's name, I turned back for a moment. And even as I did that, Rena was still advancing. I couldn't afford to stop.
サトシ君も悩んでた。辛そうだった。でもレナは相談に乗ってあげられなかった。とても悲しかった。
Where did this street connect to? All these twists and turns, ups and downs. You should have just gone the normal route. Now you're lost and you're going to get axe murdered and no one's going to see you. It was hard to believe that this was even remotely in the direction towards my house. My sense of direction had long since gone out the window.
サトシ君が転校しちゃった時ね、本当に後悔したんだよ。レナが相談に乗ってあげれば、サトシ君は転校せずに済んだかもしれないって、すごく後悔した。
The road led me deeper into the forest. Wasn't I getting farther away from the village the more I ran? I lost more and more of my composure the more I thought about it. But despite this realization, my inner self was still disturbingly calm.
だからね、誓ったの。もしもサトシ君みたいに苦しんでる人にもう一度会えたなら、レナが助けてあげようって。もう人が転校するところは見たくないな。
I find it a little hard to believe you on that one. Damn it. What does transfer even mean? I won't let you transfer me. I won't end up with the same as Satoshi.
さあ、ケイチ君、レナに話して。レナはきっとケイチ君を理解してあげられるよ。レナだけはケイチ君の味方。
That's so cap. I started wheezing, out of breath. My lungs were so hot that they felt like they were going to explode. My heart was beating as hard as it possibly could. I should have practiced running instead of my swing. I couldn't even afford to scoff at that stupid
悩
thought.
みがなくなればきっと圭一くんも元通りみんなとも仲良しに戻れてまた楽しく部活ができるよ。今度は一緒に組んでみーちゃんをやっつけようね。
Yeah, how much fun that would be. And I couldn't even imagine how much I wished I could turn back the clock on these past few days.
レナともきっと仲良しに戻れるよ。また一緒に宝探しに行きたいね。今度はお弁当も作っていくよ。なんなら今から宝探しでもいいよ。
No, I'm good.
行こうよ、一緒にダム現場。
No, I'm good.
見つけたばかりの可愛いのケイチくんにも見せてあげるね。
Yeah, probably Satoshi's corpse. Sheesh.
きっとケイチくんも気に入るよ。
My footsteps made pathetic flapping sounds as my legs wobbled and faltered. Hot on my heels, Rena's steps were sharply breaking twigs underfoot. I had to accept it. I was on the run, and chased by Rena. If she caught me, it was all over. Realized it instinctively. I couldn't even begin to think of what the end would entail. Just that if I was caught, it was all over. That's all I knew. Didn't matter how it was going to end. I wouldn't let it end. Not without knowing anything. Not yet. A momentary lapse was all it took. Of all the things that could have happened, my knees buckled underneath me and I crumbled towards the ground. Oh. Foolish. I tried to stand frantically, urging my legs to respond. I used my bat as a makeshift cane to prop myself up, but Rena was already standing right in front of me. Compared to me, out of breath and utterly exhausted, Rena was so cool and composed that she could have froze the air around her. She wasn't breathing hard at all. Rather, I couldn't even sense if her heart was beating.
何が怖いのかな。
Perhaps.
怯えるなんてケイチくんらしくないよ。
Her expression looked almost affectionate. Those soulless eyes, that mask of affection. As she admonished me for trembling, Rena's hands deftly slipped over her head. The blur of arms as they moved made me feel as if I was staring at the godliness of the thousand-armed Buddha. Then, as both of her hands met above her head, the hatchet that she held came into focus. You know, you're dead, bro. I stared up at it in disbelief. It was all I could do.
教えてくれ。サトシはどうなったんだよ。
Rena stayed like that, that hatchet raised above her head, and solemnly opened her mouth, as if she was expressing a farewell to a friend she was never to see again. That cruel scenario resided somewhere in her actions.
言ったよ。サトシくんは転校したの。
Come on, bro, we're about to die. You can tell us.
その転校ってのをやめろよ。鬼隠しってことなんだろ。そうだろ。もう教えてくれたっていいだろ。サトシを消したのは誰だよ。
Right in front of you.
レナかミオかそれとも村の誰かが答えろよ。
I became frantic the more I screamed, but Rena did nothing but maintain the smile frozen on her face.
ケイチくんが何を言ってるかわからないな。
We're gonna die with no answers.
じゃあ分かるように言ってやる。連続開始事件の犯人は誰だ。
ケイチくんは勘違いしてるよ。
え？
人間の犯人なんかいない。すべてはお社様が決めることだもの。
Okay, is this the route we're actually going down? It might be.
お社様のたたりなんて迷信だろ。
Bro, it doesn't look like it.
レナは信じてるってのか。
信じるとか信じないとかじゃない。お社様はいるの。
Rena's gaze grew even more gelid. Gelid? The ferocity of her stare was so intense, not allowing me to question anything.
お社様なんているわけが。
ケイチくんは信じないの？お社様。
Nope. And now we're about to die.
信じられるはずないだろ。そんなのいるわけがない。
いるよ、お社様。 圭一くんだって身近に感じてるはずだよ。
そんなもの感じたことないよ。
I mean, it's very well what could have been behind us the one time, right? The thing that's been following us, the reason all of our actions are known, you know?
圭一くんさ、誰かに謝られたことない？
I completely forgot about that. Oh dear God. The prologue.
それもずっと。
The train scene. How did I not connect that last night? All noise from the outside world disappeared. Only Rena's voice resounded, loudly and
そ
terribly.
れはね、許してもらえるまでずっとついてくるの。学校へも、お家へも、枕元へも。
Couldn't understand what Rena was saying.
レナのところへも来たんだよ、お社様。だからレナは転校してHinamizawaに帰ってきたの。
I don't understand. Don't understand. What does transfer even mean? What was Rena saying?
圭一くんのところにもお社様来てるんじゃない？きっと相談に乗れるのは私だけ。圭一くんを転校なんかさせないからね。
Rena's demented laughter clanged around inside my head. Was Rena saying Oyashiro-sama came to her as well? That's right. Last night I'd heard about that when I asked about Rena. I mean, you were told that several days ago.
他言無用でお願いします。また内容には全てが真実ではないかもしれないということです。よろしいですね。
Oishi-san began speaking.
被害者も学校も告訴していないので調書がないのです。つまり警察が関与してないわけなんですよ。ですから詳細は関係者からの聞き取りのみなのです。つまり信憑性が高くない。
被害者って言いましたか？レナはガラスを割っただけじゃないんですか？
いえ、男子生徒が3人ほど竜宮レナに殴られています。金属バットでです。2人はあざで済みましたが、1人は片目に後遺症を残すほどの大怪我をしたそうです。
Yeah, I mean, I remember this vaguely, but we didn't get to hear all of this conversation.
それって傷害事件じゃないんですか？
Yeah.
警察は逮捕とかしないんですか？
どういうわけか被害者が告発しないんですよ。警察に届け出がないので。
They were beaten with a bat and suffered significant injuries. Normally there would be a criminal investigation. But why? Didn't they press
被
charges?
害者の男子生徒3人にもそれぞれ話を聞こうとしましたが、全員口が重いんです。こう言ってはなんですが、怯えてるんですよ。彼女が転校した今でも。
大石さん、話を最初から整理して話してくれませんか？
Rena hit people while she broke the windows. Or was it she started breaking the windows after she got bored of hitting people? They sounded similar, but the meanings were drastically different. Yeah, they are.
某月某日、竜宮レナは親しい男子生徒3人と一緒にプール倉庫のあたりで話をしていました。
その3人って。
個人名は伏せますが、3人とも竜宮レナととても親しい仲良しグループだったそうです。
Okay, so that means the names likely aren't relevant.
彼女はこう言ってんだったんですな。
So it wasn't that strange that the four of them were together.
それでどうなったんです？
理由はわかりません。竜宮レナはプール倉庫脇にあった野球部のバットを手に取り、3人を次々に殴り倒しました。
What the hell would have caused that?
え？
There were no witnesses. This was an account pieced together by the information given at the time of the incident. One day after school, Ren and 3 male students were at the pool storage shed talking together. They weren't seeking help, rather, they usually met up there. It appears it became a heated discussion. At that time, Ren underwent a change. The change was so abrupt that the 3 of them didn't comprehend what was happening. We've seen that one before. Then, taking the metal bat, she attacked her friends one after the other. Leaving her friends covered in blood with gashes on their heads, she made her way towards the school building. and broke all the windows. Then she broke the glass windows one after the other. A few minutes later, a teacher appeared on scene and subdued her. It's a brave teacher.
レナに起こった変化って何ですか？
You know damn well what the change was.
3人の証言で一致するのは、突然人が変わった、表変したという点です。
表変。
I also could recall Rena's transformation. I'd seen that change many times before. It was so different from the usual Rena that I couldn't help but believe it was someone else who looked like Rena.
その表変っていうのはたびたびあったことなんですか？
いえ、そういうのは全くなかったそうです。私も調べられる限り、彼女の過去や病歴等を追ってみましたが、
そのレナみたいに突然人が変わる現象って結構あるんですか？
もちろんありますよ。精神的なものから性格的なものまでたくさんあります。
ではレナには潜在的に表変する要素があったってことですか？
Yeah?
断言はできません。
I mean, seems likely, but...
ですが、リュウグウ・レナをよく知る友人たちからの証言では、とても彼女にそういう要素があるようには思えません。
Kind, caring, and adorable. Even before she transferred here, she was probably pretty popular in school like she was now. A girl transforming suddenly and assaulting them with a bat. Who could imagine such a thing? Nobody could have seen it coming. I myself sometimes believed that I was mistaken for thinking that was Rena. Even now.
そしてどうなったんですか？
学校の正面が病院でしたので、3人はすぐに病院に担ぎ込まれ、
レナは警察はどうして警察沙汰にならなかったんですか？
警察は呼ばれなければ関与はできませんからね。
And nobody called for them.
一人は後遺症を残すくらい大怪我したんじゃないんですか？どうして訴えないんです？
私もそこは引っかかりました。何かの圧力、もしくは脅迫があったのか。
You don't just do that for no reason. There was some pressure on them.
それとも訴えたくても訴えられない理由があったのか。
もちろん大石さんのことですから調べたんですよね。
ねえ、まあ。ですが、初めに言いましたよね。被害者たちの口がとにかく重いのです。
Yeah, kind of hard to figure out why they wouldn't do it if they won't tell you.
触れたがらないというか、関わりたくないというか。
It's probably how it always was. The question is why. I mean, probably has something to do with, Rena and Yashiro-sama, I'd say, but reluctant to talk, didn't want to touch it, didn't want to be involved. It resembled the villagers here in Yashiro-sama's curse.
学校の先生とかからは何も聞けなかったんですか？
学校は聖域なんですよ。隠蔽体質とでも言いますか。私も捜査令状を取ってませんから弱いんですよね。
Yeah.
じゃあ学校側はノーコメント？
No, there's no way you'd get anything on the record.
いえ、事件の存在自体を否定しました。ですが某日、間違いなく病院に3人の男子生徒が打撲で担ぎ込まれたのは事実なんです。
Just a crazy coincidence.
病院にその記録が残ってますので。
被害者は語らず学校は否定する。何もわからないじゃないですか。
Nope.
ねえ、その事件があったという事実以上のことは何もわかりません。被害者たちもこの事件が公になることを望んでいませんので、私と前原さん、私たち2人が忘れれば事件はそのまま闇に消えるでしょうな。
Seems likely. I'd assume some of the truth of Rena is, in that incident, but I don't know that we're going to get much more information for now. For a brief period, we sat in silence, unless we ask Rena directly and she tells us everything for some reason. At first glance, it looked like a simple assault case, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. The depths were obscured by roiling waves, sinking quietly into the void, as if it never existed to begin with.
その後、学校を謹慎で休学します。そしてその間、神経科医のカウンセリングを受けました。
その医者からは何か聞けたんですか？
これがまた職業倫理のしっかりした尊敬すべき方でしてね。口が硬いんですよ。もうとにかく。
Essentially means the same thing.
警察手帳を見せてもダメなんですか？
I mean,
書面で申請しろと言われました。手帳自体に法的拘束力は何もありませんからね。
I mean, it makes sense, but unfortunate in this instance.
じゃあ大石さんはどうやって レナがお社様のことを告白したことを知ったんですか？
That's a good question, actually.
一部を聞いてた看護師さんがいましてね。
Fair enough.
この方は手帳を見せただけで協力してくださいました。
それで、なんと
Turns out that the nurse hadn't heard everything. Apparently, all that she remembered is what she had overheard from inside the room.
看護師さんが言うには、その時のリュウグウレナはとても淡々としていて落ち着いていたそうです。
It was more like she was confessing her sins at a church than a counseling session. She spoke with her mother there for some of it, but partway through, her mother was asked to leave, so it became a private counseling session between just the doctor and Rena for a while.
例のお社様の話はどこで出てきたんですか？
途中です。その名前を突然叫んだのです。だから看護師さんもびっくりして聞き耳を立てたのです。
Yeah, it would startle me too. This is quite a long
お社様
flashback.
です。
Rena suddenly shouted that. I had no idea what was said before that, so I had no idea what the meaning behind it could have been. The doctor, calmly and collectedly, asked Rena to have a seat.
そのお社様というのは何ですか？
Gently, ever so gently. A fundamental part of counseling is to be a good, patient listener.
ひなみざわを捨てた人は必ずお社様に追われるんです。そしてとうとう私のところにも来たんです。
竜宮さんが今のお家に引っ越される前に住んでいた町ですね。
私は引っ越したくなかったけど、お母さんとお父さんの都合で仕方なく引っ越しました。でもお社様は許してくれなかったんです。
竜宮さんはきっとHinamizawaにもお友達がたくさんいたんでしょうね。今でも懐かしいんじゃないですか？
帰りたい。Hinamizawaに帰りたい。帰りたいんじゃない。帰らなきゃいけない。本当はもっと早くに帰らなきゃいけなかった。でももうダメ。お社様が来てしまった。
お社様というのはそのHinamizawaの神様なんですね。
誰でも知ってるHinamizawaの守り神様なんです。それでHinamizawaを捨てて出て行こうとすると罰を当てるんです。
竜宮さんが引っ越しをされたのはもうずいぶん前ですよね。では今になってその神様がやってきたということですか？
I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't seem likely to me. That feels more like a buildup of, like, guilt, right? And kind of like this sense of abandonment and fear, right? That Oyashiro-sama would come. I don't know. I don't want to say she's, like, made it all up in, like, in her head, right? And whatnot, but I don't know. It is definitely possible that Oyashiro-sama just took that long and, like, you know, caught up with her, but
信じないでしょうけど、お社様はいるんです。
the nurse was then asked by another nurse to do something and left the room. That was all she remembered.
お社様がか。
確かにHinamizawaにはそういう迷信があります。里を捨てて出ていくとお社様の罰が当たる。この辺りは前原さんもすでにご存知ですよね。
Yeah. I knew very well what those scorned by the village incurred. To hinder the dam construction project, they cursed the construction foreman to his death. And the following year, Satiko's parents, supporters and leading advocates for the dam, were cursed to their death. But this was the first time I've heard of the curse incurred by leaving the village.
初耳です。
Yeah.
村の外敵がたたられるのはわかりますが、どうして出ていく村人まで。普通出ていくものはたたられないものじゃないんですか？
I know it's a bit strange to say it, but I could see it as a rule that the people who come in are the ones who would be cursed. Far from Jupiter, far from his thunder. Curses weren't something to chase after people that leave, were they? Oishi-san pondered for a bit over on the other end of the receiver, then began speaking again.
Hinamizawaが大昔鬼ヶ淵と呼ばれていたという話はしましたよね。
Yeah, I recalled hearing that. Long ago, Hinamizawa was feared and respected as the village of demons.
麓の村人たちは鬼たちを崇めていました。で、鬼ヶ淵は神聖な土地なので絶対に不可侵。むやみに立ち入るとお社様のたたりがあるとされてきたんです。
Those who set foot in Onikakushi, in other words, Hinamizawa, would be cursed. I could understand that.
それはわかります。でも、出ていくのまでダメってのは。
鬼たちもまたですね。属性に出ていかないよう、お社様に厳しく見張られていたんだとか。つまり、お社様ってのは、属性と鬼ヶ淵の交流を禁じていたんでしょうな。
I see. I finally understood what sort of thinking Oyashiro-sama, or what sort of thing Oyashiro-sama was.
つまり、お社様ってのは、守り神ってよりも、
Yeah,
監視者なんですね。
it's pretty accurate.
この地を外界から隔離しようとする。
そんな感じになるんでしょうな。すみません。私も詳しくないんです。この辺りはばあ様の受け売りでして。
I can understand it a bit better if it was like that. Those who came to Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So, because Rena originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being cursed.
つまり、レナは望まない引っ越しをしたため、お社様のたたりにあったと、そう話しているわけですか。
要約すると、そういう意味なんでしょうな。実際、この後しばらくしてひなみ沢に引っ越していますから。
That is true, and realistically things didn't change. Those who abandoned Hinamizawa and left were cursed. But then, why only Rena? Shouldn't Rena's parents also have been guilty of the same transgression by moving away and having been cursed? Also, in this day and age in Japan, shouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? If every single one of them was cursed, then it'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a deal at all. At most, there would be one person dying and one disappearing on the day of the Watanagashi. I don't like saying at most, though.
まあ、とにかくわからないことだらけなんですよ。
Yeah, I mean, he raises valid points. Every time it feels like there's a point to the idea that Oyashiro-sama might exist, it feels like there's more kind of refuting that idea. You know? I don't know.
お社様のたたりがどうだったにせよ、クラスメートを金属バットで殴った理由にはなりませんし、被害者が訴えない理由にもなりません。
I mean, if the curse is just, like, causing them to become insane, or Oyashiro-sama, like, taking control of them, I guess it would explain that, but...
まさか、前原さんも恐ろしいたたりが起こって、被害者たちがすくみ上がった、なんてこと、信じるわけないですよね。
Of course I didn't want to believe it. But, more importantly, I had just realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Rena made between Oyashiro-sama's curse and metal bats. Satoshi fell victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse and went missing. I recently learned that Satoshi had also become infatuated with a metal bat right before he disappeared. Just like me. Then Rena as well. She was affected by Oyashiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. And the weapon which she had used at the time of that horrendous act was, again, a metal bat. And finally, me. I encountered various things that were inexplicable. Now I was holding on to a metal bat. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi did the same thing. Couldn't be. Had the same thing happened to Rena? There was one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after falling victim to the curse, but Rena was still here. Both of them had fallen victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse, yet they were met with different endings. And finally, me. Couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Rena, Satoshi, and finally, me. Could it be it really was under Oyashiro-sama's curse right now? Yeah, I don't know. God, this one's tough. It's teetering the line of, do we believe in Oyashiro-sama or not? That's been like a lot of the story this whole time. Is Oyashiro-sama real or not? Because that is a crazy string of coincidences, right? So, I mean that's such a crazy string of coincidences that it's easy to see it as that can't just be coincidence, you know? No. More importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, vanishing without a trace. Rena was fine. Fine? Rena had undergone a change. I can only believe that there was something that wasn't Rena residing within her. Yeah, I could believe it. And here, right now, was standing before me. with a hatchet. Yeah.
レナ、教えてくれ。俺はどうなるんだよ。
Rena stood imposingly, not answering.
サトシは消えた。だけどレナは消えなかった。じゃあ俺はどうなるんだよ。
Both. I never heard such an unpleasant laugh before. It had become akin to the sound of her breathing. It was no longer a voice or an expression of feeling.
大丈夫だよ。レナが助けてあげるから。
I, for some reason, don't believe that. Rena took one step forward, still holding the hatchet high above her head.
さあ、
One step closer. Rena's face spread out to fill my vision.
話して。
One step closer. Rena's nose was close enough to touch mine, but was still pushing closer.
話したいことがあるんだよね。レナが聞いてあげる。
I mean, it's not like we have much choice right now.
助けてあげるから。
I mean, literally, what can we do except trust her?
話してね。話してね。
I slumped down, landing squarely on my butt. It wasn't for some pathetic reason. It was all I could do to get as far away from Rena. I had the gut feeling that I couldn't let her laughter end. Because when that laughing ended, you were gonna die. The moment I picked up on that feeling, my body moved by instinct. I sprang to my feet so fast I couldn't believe it, and pushed Ren away with both hands. Dang, that boy running. Ren was light as a feather. Thrown about by the unbalanced weight of the hatchet, she was sent backwards as if she had been carried off by the wind. After confirming that out of the corner of my eye, I dashed off at full speed. I was the perfect picture of fleeing like a greased pig. Away from Rena. Run away. Survive. Couldn't think of anything other than this. While I was running, I remembered I'd been holding onto a bat the entire time. Such a worthless weapon. Couldn't believe I'd forgotten about this weapon at such an important time. I sped even farther down the winding path. I didn't even feel myself gasping for breath or my legs getting heavy. That's that adrenaline kicking in. My body understood it as well. If I didn't run away from here, I wouldn't live. I could hear the laughter of that simulacrum of Rena coming from behind me. It rang through the trees and in my head, and slowly chiseled away at my sanity. Not the damn. The grove of trees thinned out, my field of vision suddenly expanding. Where was this? For a moment I was bewildered by the scenery I felt I knew but couldn't quite remember. I quickly realized. It was the damn site. The fact that I dashed madly and ended up in a place like this gave me a bad feeling, like I was following someone's scripted plot. I had a good view of my surroundings, but I didn't see a single soul here. Oh yeah, that's no good. This was a terrible spot for someone on the run. There's no better place for an attacker. My heart was already on the verge of bursting. The muscles of my legs were screaming. I didn't care. If I stopped here, then they might not even be able to scream for much longer. Even still, I glanced back, looking for an excuse to rest. Rena wasn't there. Instead, I saw two villagers walking around. I breathed a sigh of relief that it wasn't Rena, but a third party. Except the voice inside me rang the alarm once again. Odds that it's like, is it two random villagers, or is it like Satoko and Rika or something? But why were they here? It's a real question, no matter who it is. Villagers walking around weren't suspicious in and of themselves, but it bothered me. They have eyes and ears everywhere, you know? If this is truly some curse, and Yashiro-sama can, like, I don't know, like, take control of people or something, right? Having eyes and ears everywhere is crucial, which explains why they'd be in such a weird spot. They both wore rough-looking clothes. Empty-handed, they definitely gave the impression that they were just out for a walk. But at this time of day, two adults wandering around without a purpose was enough to raise questions. More than anything else, those eyes. They weren't chit-chatting while walking, they were both silent, heading forward, looking in my direction. I was at the end of my rope and had finally started imagining things. I should run away. That was probably the best choice. If they weren't involved, I'd lose them easily by running. They were part of the group after me, and they would come running after me. Either way, unless I hurried up, Rena would catch up with me. That's right, I was going to run. Deciding that, the moment I began to turn tail, Both of them rushed towards me, as if they knew exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, they probably did. Yeah, now he's just getting chased by only one. Or, chased by everyone. Rena wasn't the only one. Not that that's surprising, of course. Somewhere inside me, I jumped to the conclusion that Rena was the only thing I needed to be afraid of. I made the assumption that I didn't need fear anything else. But right now, I realized just how blatantly wrong I was. Suddenly, the story Oichi-san told me about the demons all leaving the village to hunt prey floated through the back of my mind. I could tell they were both coming after me without even turning around because of their frenetic footsteps. It was frightening, being unable to shake Rena off as she slowly closed in on me, but this didn't even compare. Being pursued with such violent ferocity, this straightforward horror was unparalleled. One of the pursuers' arms grazed my shoulder. It wasn't just their frenzied footsteps, but also the distinct sound of their breathing that I could hear. No, I could practically feel them breathing on me. They were already right behind me. Calm down, Keichi Maibara. Yeah, there's no way he can get away. Like, still running at full tilt, I felt the surrounding area go still. No, it felt like time itself had stopped. I turned my head back slightly in that frozen world, realizing how close my pursuers had gotten to me. I couldn't win against the legs of an adult. No less than the time it would take to blink twice. When this frozen time began moving again, they'd be right on top of me. On top of me, and then... Don't think about that, Keiichi. First, realize that you won't be able to shake them off like this. If the fact that you can't get away was a given, then you need to make a decision. Go with the right leg or go with the left. You just need to decide which one. Let's go with the left. The moment I decided that, the temporal singularity burst into pieces. Right. Left. You both swinging at the legs. I swung the bat in a wide arc with my right arm. Using that inertia, I stopped and suddenly spun.
No!
What, took the legs out? The two of them were clearly startled. Momentarily losing sight of me, both of their outstretched arms, ready to grab me, instead grasped an empty space. The man on the right, I applaud him for being able to figure it out, spun around to the spot I should have been and faced me in astonishment. What, did he like pole vault with it? But it was too late. I didn't even need to swing my bat. All I needed to do was extend my arms as I turned around. It was by no means a heavy blow, but it seemed like it had enough power behind it to knock him off his feet. But just knocking him down wasn't enough to scare him away. He got back up in no time. Both of them took a fighting stance and were ready to face me. Yeah, now he's got to fight for his life. This made me certain that they weren't just two people out for a walk. They were clearly after me. It felt much easier than dealing with Rena. Just by not recognizing their faces, by not knowing them, it made things easier. I smiled wryly on the inside. At the same time, though, I can see how he's seeing everything that he's seeing the way that he's seeing it. And I'm not going to try to say, oh, the village is innocent. There's clearly something wrong with this village. But I also wouldn't be surprised at the same time if they somehow turned this into he's been imagining all of this due to his paranoia, and that they really were just innocuous. I don't think that's what's happening here. But it's a twist I could see.
俺に何か用かよ。次は眉間にお見舞いするぞ、この野郎。
It's fine if it was just a bluff. By barking out at them, I was able to fire myself up. They didn't respond. They spread out to either side of me with unbelievably calm expressions on their faces. I mean, yeah, like, you don't do that otherwise, but, like, it also just feels like at the same time they could have so easily gone for a, you are just so paranoid, you're seeing things that aren't really there, right? Or you're the small things, right? You're taking them the wrong way. But that does not really seem like what's happening here. I'll just keep saying it, but I want to be clear. One of them would grab onto my bat, the other would hold me down. Was that their plan? Taking on both of them at once would be impossible. Hot sweat poured from every pore in my body, and I just have to settle it with the first move. I step in and strike the first one down. Narrowing my target down to the man on the right who had already been knocked down before, I stepped in and swung with all my might. There was no way for an unarmed person to guard against it. It would cause immense damage. If they blocked it with their arm, their bone would snap like a twig. If they turned their back to it, it was possible that the blow would travel all the way to their vital organs. It looked like he was aware of this. He pushed farther through the kill zone between us and delivered a fist right into my gut. Not good. With this distance, in this position, and in this state, there's no way for me to dodge it. The world flipped upside down. I understood that I was being tossed around like a rag doll. I landed on the soft earth without a sound, feeling the grainy soil press against my face. It didn't hurt at all. But the moment I thought that, suddenly felt pain coming from the abrasions on my skin, as well as the contents of my stomach being forced upwards, flooding my mouth with a bitter sensation. I knew very well that I didn't have time to relish this experience. I stood up as quickly as I could, but at that moment, the other man was already barreling towards me. Being able to comprehend calmly that I simply couldn't dodge it and made it all the more upsetting. After plowing into my stomach full force once again, my assailant twisted around behind me and locked his thick arm around my neck. My throat felt like it was being crushed by his immense strength. I couldn't even contemplate that I was being strangled, that I was about to go unconscious. My vision simply darkened, and a silent whining noise began playing deep inside my head. It took everything I had to keep myself from blacking out. Whilst this was happening, the other man was more than likely standing in front of me. I wasn't able to open my eyes, but I could feel that he was there. There was nothing I could do now. Unable to shake this arm off me, I couldn't run, I couldn't fight back. Dire straits. I can't even come up with a phrase that adequately described my situation. Yeah, that's fair. Is that a chapter transition? It's probably just like a scene transition. Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, where are we now? A familiar ceiling. I smelled the bed and pillows. I knew them well. Was this my room? Normally there wouldn't be anyone in my room besides me, but their presence made me spring wide awake. When I did that, pain shot throughout my entire body.
大丈夫かな?
Why are we not dead?
横になってた方がいいと思うよ。
Why was Rena in my room? Blood began to surge through my muscles and my capillaries. But Rena's smile belonged to the Rena I knew well. I knew I shouldn't let myself feel this way, but I relaxed thinking that this version of Rena was safe.
俺はどうして
覚えてないの?
意識がなくなってからのことは全然。
My body had become more lethargic than I could have ever imagined. I guess that would be the expected outcome after exerting everything I had back there. I tried to at least clear my head, but I just couldn't shake the sluggish feeling out of my mind.
一応お医者さんにも電話したから、もうすぐ来ると思うよ。それまで横になってた方がいいと思うな。
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't injured seriously enough to merit calling a doctor, but knowing that someone impartial was coming was slightly reassuring.
俺どうしてここにいるんだ?
Yeah, why is he not dead?
確かダム現場で。
それはレナが聞きたいな。何があったのかな。レナが行った時にはケイチ君倒れてて。
It's hard to tell if she's just being a master of deceit, right? It really does feel like there's two entities within her, right? It is just kind of how it's feeling, you know? It doesn't feel like the Rena we know is the same as the one that is losing her mind constantly, you know? They feel like different people, right? I don't know how likely Oyashiro-sama's stuff is, right? Maybe I'm just foolish for wanting to believe them all. I do want to believe them all. I like them, right? I liked that crew. I liked the slice of life we had with them. I liked the moments, right? Just like Keichi said, right? I want to believe in them, right? I really do. For Keichi, I wish these past days could have been erased. But, like, we've seen what Rena is at times, so part of me is starting to wonder, could it really just be, you know, wow, how did I forget the guardian deity's name? Okay. Wow, I can't remember his name. Starts with an A. Sama. Whatever. Like, I don't know. Are people, like, being possessed, right? Is that the curse? Like, they can, like... Oh, Yashiro. It didn't start with an A. Okay. Like, is a Yashiro-sama able to, like, I don't know, like, possess the villagers, right? And enact the curse that way? Right? Like, is that what's happening? Is that why suddenly people will just flip a switch and act completely differently? I don't know. I mean, it would also explain how everyone knows everything, you know? Maybe I'm just too naive. But I don't know. When I see like Rena in front of me like this, I want to believe.
だから聞きたいのは俺の方だよ。変な二人組に襲われて。
As I talked about it, I finally remember what happened right before I passed out. Recalling that memory and the terror that went along with it caused the fogginess around my head to clear right up. Let's forget about those two for now. I didn't expect Rena to be nursing me. I thought Rena was trying to kill me. She would have had the perfect chance while I was unconscious. Not only did she not kill me, she nursed me back to health.
よく俺を引きずってここまで来れたな。重かったろ。
Looking at Rena's delicate frame, it's hard to believe that she had not only gotten me back home, but even dragged me all the way up to the second floor. Did she have some help?
ケイチ君、覚えてないの？
No. Ren appeared a bit surprised, but still kept her smile.
レナはケイチ君に肩を貸しただけだよ。大丈夫、自分で歩けるってケイチ君が。
Yeah, that boy was not fine.
覚えてない？
I didn't remember. My memory was fuzzy after the point where I lost consciousness.
二人組はどうした？レナが来た時、俺と一緒に、あるいはそばに二人組の男が。
いなかったよ。
She said it bluntly. The way she stated it felt slightly unpleasant. I was just too timid at that time. I might have been able to force some answers out of Rena. But if I did that, then this kind Rena might transform into the scary Rena who I didn't know. Fearing that, I didn't press any further. Thinking about it, it was the obvious choice. If both of those men were there, I don't think Rena would even have stood a chance. I couldn't find a way to explain it unless I assumed she brought me here after those two were already gone. Rena was still smiling. Her eyes sparkled warmly, yet I felt like I was hallucinating when I saw something akin to a shadow slowly creeping across her face. That small omen sent shivers down my spine. While Rena was still Rena, I needed to make contact. I needed to contact Oishi-san. Rena stopped me when I tried to get out of bed. She said it would aggravate my wounds, so I should sleep. Oops, I didn't mean to left click.
ごめん。
Rena couldn't say anything else. You gonna go for what, like the sneak call? While Rena stayed in the room, I quickly went downstairs to get the phone receiver in the living room. When I approached the front door, the doorbell rang. Ding dong. It must have been the doctor Rena had called. It was strange for a patient to welcome in the doctor who was making a house call, but it would be incredibly reassuring to have him here for the considerable time it would take Oishi-san to get here. Why do I somehow feel like Oishi-san is about to be like the doctor that shows up? I carelessly opened the door with that simple assumption and regretted it almost instantly.
Mion.
Oh, it's Mion.
あれ？元気そうだね。倒れてたって言うから様子見に来たんだけど。
なんで俺が倒れてたって知ってるんだよ。
レナが電話してきたから。他に理由が必要？
I understood why she would call a doctor, but why Mion too? Rena was descending the stairs behind me.
レナ、ケイちゃん大丈夫そうだよ。たく、心配して損した。
The boy straight up lost some
そう
memory
だ
though.
ね。レナも心配して損したかな。
They both began laughing. It appeared to be cheerful laughter. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a darkness looming over them.
うわ、なにこの下駄箱。どうしてたの？
The shoe rack that I'd smashed to pieces had been like that since yesterday.
転んでさ。
Something like that.
その拍子に持ってたバットで叩いちゃったんだよ。
持ち慣れないもん振り回してるからこういうことになるんだよ。
I kept the fact that it was none of her business to myself.
でもこれじゃおばさまたちが帰ってきたらびっくりしちゃうね。
True.
後でレナが片付けておくね。
さあ、ほらケイちゃん。重病人なんだからちゃんと寝てないとダメだよ。
Terminally?
さあさあ、お布団に戻った。
Are we just gonna ignore how concerning that is? The terminally ill? Hello? Both of them urged me up the stairs. I had no chance to call Oishi-san. I was pushed into my bed. As it was the first time Mion had been in my room, she began searching around it intently. She fiddled around my room and was scolded by Rena. You can imagine how it went. It was uncomfortable having my room poked around, but the conversation was so benign that it was heartwarming. Wait till she finds the clock. During that innocent conversation, Mion said something as though it was perfectly ordinary.
レナ、監督には電話した？
うん、みーちゃんに電話した後すぐにね。
The director.
すぐ来るって言ってたよ。
Director? That out-of-place word gave me a bad feeling. And I called a doctor, then called Mion, and after that, she called a director? Who was this director? Since Ren and Mion's conversation was so peaceful, it only felt slightly odd.
二人とも何の話をしてるんだよ。監督ってなんだよ。
ケイちゃん死んないの？
I feel like things are about to get creepy.
監督って言ったら監督だよ。
映画の監督とか、工事現場の監督とか。
Oh dear God. Make a foreman of a construction site, that's great. I dug through all of my memories for a director who might have business with me. Only one thing came to mind. What Rena had just said. The construction site foreman. The very first victim of the first incident. Dismemberment at the damn construction site. Foreman? That was strange. He was supposed to be dead. There was no way they could call him.
お前らが何の話をしてるのかわからないよ。
He's never been confirmed dead, just missing.
その監督が俺と何か関係あるのか？来るって言ったけど、うちに来るのか？
Asked one obvious question after another, but all the two of them did was smile coolly at each other. There's a huge difference between how the two of them appeared and how my suspicions were playing out. Slowly, I felt discomfort and panic welling up inside me. I couldn't understand what Rena and Mion were talking about.
ケイちゃん、最近は野球に凝ってるんだよね。監督。それ聞いたら喜ぶと思うな。
だから監督って誰だよ？
監督は監督さんだよ。
Who would have some tie to baseball?
だから監督って誰だよ？
Rena and Mion looked at each other and laughed haughtily. The disturbing cackle unpleasantly resounded around me. That laugh, long enough to be unsettling, ended abruptly.
そうだ。監督が来る前に済ませとくかな。ケイちゃん、覚えてるかい？
No. Her face was laughing, but Mion's eyes told a different story.
覚えてるって何をだよ？
ケイチくん忘れちゃったのかな。罰ゲームなんだよ。罰ゲームなんだよ。忘れちゃったのかな。おはぎの宿題。
Oh no.
どれがレナの作ったおはぎかを当てる宿題。あれ、確か宿題忘れだったよね。
I certainly did have that homework, but I had thrown away the rest of the mochi after I found that sewing needle, so I wasn't able to answer which one Rena made. The penalty for that? Why now? Boy, they're gonna make you eat a needle. You are going to die. No doubt my question was written all over my face. Their answer to my question was that dry laughter. I could no longer make heads or tails of anything. I began to think that this entire day was somehow insane, strange, incomprehensible, being chased by Rena, attacked by strange men, the penalty Mion and Rena were talking about. What were these two laughing at? It didn't take that long for me to realize I had been dragged into an abnormal situation. Who were these two? Who were these people? Who were these doppelgangers of Rena and Mion? Rena had gotten behind me at some point. Hey, yeah, they're back. Should have seen that coming. Why was she pinning my arms behind my back?
何の真似だよ？
動かないでね。罰ゲームだから。
My body was already very sluggish, and Rena pinning my arms made it that much harder to move. I seriously tried to struggle, but she wouldn't even budge. My panic began to well up, and I realized that this was well beyond the realm of jokes and pleasantries. This freakishly monstrous strength would have been impossible for the Rena that I knew. Then, these thin, frail arms grasping me firmly. Whose arms were they?
ケイちゃん、抵抗しちゃダメだよ。海賊大。何錠でもいいや。罰ゲームに抵抗しちゃダメなんだからさ。
Mion. No, that thing that looked like Mion. Spoke to me like how Mion would speak to me. But I was certain that this was not Mion. Someone who wasn't Mion. Someone who was just pretending to be Mion.
監督が来る前に済まさないとね。
Let's not, actually. Mion fished into her pocket to pull out something bizarre. I could tell what it was just by looking at it, but for such a thing to be in her pocket, my mind wouldn't accept it.
なんだよそれ。
Probably a sewing needle. It was a small syringe. It was a small, clear syringe, the kind a doctor might use if you went to them with a high fever. Rena held me even tighter. What are they about to do? And I could hear that clattering laughter that no longer sounded like laughter blaring into my ear. That eerie laughter. It wasn't something that the Rena I knew could ever produce from her own throat. This thing that was pretending to be Rena, was this their real laugh? Unable to defend myself, the syringe Mion was holding drew closer, and that needle tip was waved in front of my face countless times.
大丈夫大丈夫。痛くないから痛くないから。
Yeah, I bet. This feels like we're about to get Tomatake, huh? Is this what happened to him?
何をする気だよ。これは一体何の真似だよ。
ケイちゃん、何言ってんだか分かってんでしょ。
Yeah.
何が俺には何が何やらさっぱりわからねえよ。
知ってるくせに今さらかまととぶられてもな。
Fair. Okay, you got us there.
わけのわからないことを言って俺を煙に巻くのはやめろ。
富武さんと同じ目に遭ってもらう。
Yeah, figured. Yeah. The same as Tomatake-san? I didn't really understand what she meant. What did she have to do? Or what did that have to do with this syringe?
ケイチくん、とぼけてるね。
Yeah, you know exactly what it has to do with that syringe. There's something in there that's going to cause you to go berserk and then kill yourself.
うすうすは気づいてたくせに。
Rena whispered into my ear, laughing as if to admonish me. But even the way she spoke was repulsive beyond compare. Playing dumb? Me? About what? What do you mean? The same as Tomatake-san.
みんな初めはひき逃げされたものだと思っていました。ですが意識を確かめるために近づいた警官はすぐに異常に気づきました。喉がね。
ナイフとか。
Nope.
いえ、
Don't fingernails.
爪でした。
Nails. Nails as in fingernails. With those gouged through. That's right. Tomatake-san had clawed out his own throat with his own nails and died. There's no way someone could die like that. So then, for that to happen...
薬物を疑いましたが、そういう類のものは検出できませんでした。
That's right. Police didn't find any drugs in Tomatake-san's system.
警察は富武さんの遺体から薬物は検出できなかったって言ったぞ。
Wait. What does that mean? The two of them laughed together with that sickening laughter. Of course they'd laugh. To assume that such a medicine didn't exist just because the police didn't know about it was completely foolish. Meaning, the drug that caused Tomatake-san to die in such a bizarre manner did exist? Mion injected this into me. That would probably be all the proof I needed. That would basically mean I'd end up the same as Tomatake-san. Become hysterical, scratching on my own throat in my last moments, then die. For such an outrageous drug to exist. For Mion to be holding it. And that I was about to be injected with it. At that moment, I did not feel there was any need whatsoever to question it. What kind of idiot, when he's trying to dodge a ball flying straight for his face, has time to think of a reason as to why it's flying at him?
観念しなって。んじゃ。
Mion's action lacked any gravitas? I've never actually said that word. And that made it even more terrifying. There was none of the ceremony like when someone is sentenced to death. There was no hesitation at all, as if she were brushing her teeth. Mion reached out with one hand and grabbed onto my chest. Like electricity had run through the back of my head and the entire world had gone dark. Did I stand up too fast? Or did someone hit me really hard in the back of my head? Having lost my sense of balance, I was assaulted by a wave of dizziness. Oh yeah, that's the drug kicking in, huh? Don't tell me they're about to leave it there, dog. There's actually no way. No? Okay, I guess there's that. Still not done. I squatted down for a bit. When I came back to my senses, my entire room had changed drastically. The numbness in my head was gone, and slowly, I could tell blood was flowing to my extremities again. How long had I been squatting here? How many minutes? Or has it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on the clock had stopped moving the entire time my eyes were closed. That's how little time passed. Really. The air in the room wasn't filled with that madness from before. Only a dull silence. And I wasn't there pinning my arms. Mion wasn't there about to inject me with a needle. No way. Could it be all of it? Was it a hallucination? There was no other presence in the room besides my own. It was the weirdest experience I'd ever had. I was certainly with Rena and Mion. I'd out of my sanity for a moment, but I was also seized with some sort of comfort. I guess a terrible ordeal was a hallucination. Neither Rena nor Mion. They would never do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. Why? That wasn't a reason to cry. Why? It was sorrow. Why was I sad? Don't understand. Don't understand. Kind to everyone, not discriminating against age or gender. Mion. That Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Oh, snap! What? Blood stained her a deep red from her head down to her chest. What? Mion is dead? The bright crimson smeared on the walls. That splatter had undoubtedly come from Mion. She always had that bright smile and was kind to me from the day I transferred. Rena. They're both dead. That same Rena was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. I couldn't comprehend what had happened. Had someone come to save me? And they beat these two down? With this metal bat? Oh, that boy, when he got the drug, he went berserk. I finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? It was Satoshi's metal bat. It was covered in a deep red. There was no doubt that this was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. And I was holding that weapon. I was the only person in the house. Is this the hallucination? Is that what causes him to, kill himself? Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it. That's right. Keichi Maibara. Of course I did it. I pulled myself gently, as if coaxing myself. Hey, me. There's no reason for you to remember it, nor is there a need to regret it. Eat or be eaten. You get that, don't you? Neither Rena nor Mion had moved an inch. It wasn't just a split forehead and a trickle of blood. Nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red. That told me it didn't end with just 2 or 3 strikes. Boy, they are dead as hell. The depths of my mind were calm, but on the surface I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keichi Maibara. What happened to your usual calm self? Come on now. Do like you always do. Throw your head back and take a deep breath. Come on. Once. Twice. Breathe deeply. Calm down. Calm down. I chanted that over and over in my head and relaxed. Color came back to my vision and smell reinfused the air. At the same time, I remembered what happened when I blacked out. Oh boy. This is gonna be fun, huh? Ren and Mion had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused the same symptoms as Tomatake-san. Right before that happened, I fought back. I twisted my whole body and threw Ren as she was pinning my arms. Then I followed through with my spin and rammed my foot as hard as I could into Mion's torso. Dang! It was soft. Rena tried jumping on me, so I tackled her as hard as I could and slammed her against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Satoshi's bat that was left carelessly by the side of my desk. Weep. At that moment, everything went pitch black. There was nothing recorded past this point in the videotape of my mind. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine. Just, the other me inside myself told me not to look back and it turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see it, didn't mean that the videotape within me hadn't recorded it. The TV was just off. The video was still playing. The tape within me, creaking along, still playing. On the other end of that pitch black screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Compared to this, though, the scene right before my eyes, still so difficult to take in. There was blood splattered everywhere on the walls, the two of them in these unnatural poses. Not a sign of movement from them. Couldn't even tell if they were breathing. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. I may have even killed them. May have! But if I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that on an imaginary scale, it felt odd that I'd even feel bad about it. Even if it was a bit excessive, this was justifiable self-defense. The proof was all here. The two of them collapsed here in Mion's syringe. Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug would certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tomatake-san. Boy. Imagine that's like not like some crazy drug that's gonna cause him to go nuts and that was like part of the prank. I mean, that seems that'd be a really stupid prank, first of all, and like I don't think that's the case. They were trying to kill him, but could you imagine? The cops found it and they were like, yeah, no, this had like nothing, you just killed them. From the fact that both of these two were involved, you'd be able to pick out the criminals one after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this. That was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. This wouldn't fade into the darkness like Rena's past incidents. As long as the police were involved, that should bring this to a close. They'll probably revisit their investigation on the chain of incidents. Oishi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Meaning, my wish, not wanting to die, wanting to know the truth, that'll be fulfilled in its most basic form. It's all a matter of time now. The doctor Rena called should be getting here soon. Confess everything to him. I needed to contact Oishi-san. At that moment, I remembered. Besides the doctor, a director had been called. It was easy to imagine that they were someone deeply involved with the incidents, judging from Rena and Mion's conversation. Yeah, and the baseball line. Oh my god, imagine it's Satoshi. The ache in my chest, caused by the gruesome deed I'd done, dissipated rapidly. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keichi Maibara. It's not over yet. I needed to live long enough to tell the police of this incident. At that moment, it felt like I heard someone's voice from outside. Since people were speaking, it must mean that there was more than one person. I moved the curtain ever so slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate. They very much resembled the 2 men who had assaulted me at the dam site today. Those 2 might even be among them. There was one person there wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. My gut told me he was in disguise, only posing as a doctor. That guy would probably ring the bell and get me to open the front door. Pretend to be a doctor to get me to open the door, and then the rest of them would rush in all at once. At that moment, I saw the car parked behind the men, and my heart nearly skipped a beat. The white van! No mistaking it. That van, the one that had tried to run me down? The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men the rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend that I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, they just break the window and enter. I needed to get out of here somehow. Then use a public phone to contact Oishi-san, and meet up somewhere. First of all, I need a weapon, and shoes. But before all of that, there was one thing I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about this nonsensical curse of Oyashiro-sama. But what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring about my demise. And that was why. There's one thing more important than getting out of here right now. I need to get that clock out quickly and take down the note hidden behind it. Damn it. Dave was sticking to it fast. It'd be fine if it was torn a little. I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage with a ballpoint pen. I wasn't able to inform Oishi-san, and the only thing I could rely on was this note. I never thought a piece of torn, college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. This was an undeniable fact. I still didn't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help lead them to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there was that unidentified person known as the director. To begin with, the term director didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include the directors from the past incidents, and the only one is the construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. The very first victim in the chain of incidents. Killed in a lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. His right arm was never discovered. The police should have confirmed that death. But Ren and Mion did both call him director. They said director. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who was dead. The police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Would that be some sort of oversight? No. That's probably the Sonozaki family feeding bad information to the police. I didn't know. But even if I didn't know, it could be a big hint for Oishi-san. That's right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but the start of the string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something hidden there. Please reinvestigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. The victim? His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. Did I misunderstand what they were saying? Were they arguing that the victim lived? Was that really the case? Could it have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Yeah, there's something even more important I need to write. Omatake-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right. That drug was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just by having this, everything would be uncovered. Couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. This syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe onto the back of the clock with plenty of tape, so it absolutely would not slip out and fall to the floor. Firmly. Firmly. There it is. The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write any more, but even still, there was one last thing I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. This may be the closest to the truth out of everything I wrote on this note. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead, though you may or may not find my body. I was going to write out everything that could happen, either dying from the curse or being demoned away. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. With this, my last will and testament was complete. It wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. I folded the note, stuck it onto the back of the clock, and returned the clock back to its usual spot. I couldn't help but pray. Oishi-san, if something happens to me, I leave the rest to you. After that, I gazed down silently at Rena and Mion. This was probably the last time we'd ever see each other. Rena. Mion.
俺、みんなのこと、本当に友達だと思ってたんだぜ。
You thought that. But why did it end up like this? I never had any fun in it in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores. Out of the school I hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go, or a safety net. Was all I talked about. It was a dull life, The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying and competitions, in personal records and standardized test scores. Everyone here told me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over the club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable tears. I should have had no obligation to shed tears for them. It wouldn't stop. Even if they were after my life. Even if they were trying to kill me. Everything that happened this month, I wouldn't forget it. You never really can. We're gonna be those happy days, all a facade as well. Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until today, to ensnare me? Could it have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. Both Rena and Mion, they really were my friends. Those happy days. There's nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try to kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Oyashiro-sama. Regardless, both Ren and Mion were the best friends ever. And when they were coming after me, it wasn't of their own volition. Man, I hope you're right. That feels like really wishful thinking. That's basically what I've been saying. I hope this is the case, but it just feels like wishful thinking. But they weren't the kind of people to sell off their friends, no matter what means were employed to force them. There was no way such a thing as being possessed by Oyashiro-sama could happen in reality. Then, did the real Ren and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Ren and Mion, I was still debating if they were real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake, only the reality that was before me. Ren and Mion were sprawled out at my feet. That was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit, that I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how I spun it, it wouldn't change reality. Ren and Mion were both dead. It felt like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions I was holding back. It felt like my calm state was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. I killed them. Ren and Mion. I killed them. The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into a state of composure once again. I didn't have a moment to spare. Quickly, I needed to get away. I didn't want to die. I would uncover everything after that. The identity of whoever or whatever had pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass, I would survive. I would survive. I would definitely survive. I killed Rena for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far just to keep living. So I can't die. For my sake, and for the sake of the late Rena and Mion, I have to survive. I ran towards the door and grabbed my shoes. The doorbell rang again, as if to urge me on. Behind this single, solitary door, they were there. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen. Headed towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for people outside. No one? After I put on my shoes, I opened the door slowly so as not to make a sound. A piercing voice echoed out. That voice stabbed through me, setting my hair on end. I had to run. Get out of here, Keichi. Boy, you better hope somebody's here to save you. One after the other, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence, those things you use when you have time to spare, spill out of me. I didn't feel any pain from the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomously pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. My entire being just wished to live. There was nothing else it desired. Probably had no complaints whatsoever, so of course I wouldn't feel fatigue. I just ran, just recklessly rushing in the direction I was already heading. Even if nobody was chasing after me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was headed. Turning around, I felt a presence right next to me. The presence was, without a doubt, chasing me like my shadow. If I took even one misstep, I would be devoured. That's what I thought, so I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran, at full speed. Chasing. Man. What is that sound effect? Quack, quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack. That was the chirping of the Higurashi telling me it was evening. Trying to tell me something, and I finally heard it. The wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them? Quack, 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 quack. Only the Higurashi knew. They knew everything. They definitely knew. So, I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi's chirps. But the farther I ran, the farther away their chirping became. I couldn't get near them. Why are you all running away? Was it my fault? Was I the one to blame? And I'll apologize. I'm sorry. 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 Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I felt that only the Higurashi knew. That's very reminiscent of, what we saw with Rena and what she told us. Dang, how far did he make it? The smoking room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electric noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Why do smokers have to be shoved so far down this corridor where the sun didn't even reach? I recalled hearing that the tax revenue from tobacco was about 1/10 of the municipality's revenue. We were the most heavily taxed members of this municipality, so I really wish they chose a little more respect.
どうしてこれがウーマン切りなんすか？街が狭くなっちゃうっすよ。
One of the younger detectives was having a staring contest with a mahjong magazine called Next Turn.
ウーマン切ってもテンパイ崩れませんから、配定にかけるなら両面で受けた方がチャンスあるんじゃないですか？
I have no clue what they're talking about, dog.
クマちゃん、川を見てください。ウーマンは全員切ってますから安牌なんですよ。終盤で K 点に走った誰かがダマで待ってたら嫌でしょ。
The kid let out another groan, put out a cigarette, and took out another one.
納得いかないっすね。わざわざ自分で当たり牌減らすなんて。
ちなみに配定で当たり牌出しても論しちゃダメですよ。
え？どうしてですか？
Just then, I heard a voice coming from down the hall.
大石さん、いますか？一般の方から凱旋です。
ありゃ、こりゃどうも。それじゃ、ちょいと失礼。
He has to know exactly who it's from, dude. Yeah, dog, we need help. Like, yesterday.
どうして論しちゃダメなんすか？あ、待ってくださいよ、大石さん。
That boy just dipped. The man sitting in the seat Oishi-san was heading towards waved at the telephone receiver.
凱旋です。講習から。
どうもすいません。お待たせしました。大石です。もしもし。
大石さんですか？もしもし。
前原さんじゃありませんか。どうもどうも。こんにちは。
Something like that. From the tone of my Barakun's voice, I already knew he was in a predicament. This is the first time my Barakun had phoned me. And he was calling from a
落ち着い
payphone.
てください。何がありました？
Something like that, yeah. His voice was erratic over the line. He completely lost his sense of composure. After checking that nobody else could hear, I prompted him in a hushed tone.
何があったんです？落ち着いて前原さん。今そこに近場の警官を行かせます。私もすぐそっちに行きますよ。
多分無理です。
Is he about to die? His voice was quivering and hoarse. He wasn't surrounded by people even as he was making this call, was he?
前原さんは今公衆電話からかけてますよね。どこの公衆電話ですか？
There were no other sounds besides my Barakun's voice. It had to be a phone booth. I scratched out a note and thrust it at my colleague sitting across from me. Hinamizawa, phone booth. I understood quickly and hastily started on the internal lines.
落ち着いて前原さん。今どういう状況なんです？
It was best practice to avoid flustering someone panicking, but this was an urgent case. My Barakun didn't just get in trouble, get away, and then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at my Barakun right now would just needlessly cause him to be even more frantic. My Barakun wasn't just calling to seek help. He was trying to tell us something more than that. And whatever that was, if I didn't get it from this call, I was certain there would never be another chance. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one booth in Hinamizawa. Patrol car is on the way. 5 minutes.
測りすぎです。警らには何人乗ってます？
二人です。
Not enough. It was as I imagined. There were likely quite a few people surrounding my Barakun. 5 minutes was too long.
南沢の駐在さんには電話しました。
定時巡回の時間です。家人は留守で連絡不能。
Yeah, that's probably intentional.
そう。クマちゃん、車を回してください。
了解っす。
もしもし、おじさん。
That boy dying.
もしもし、大丈夫です。ちゃんと聞こえてますよ。
There was something wrong with my Barakun. That wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting? Was it blood? Had he already been attacked? Was he injured?
前原さん、今そこに警官が向かってます。2、3分で到着しますからなんとか持ちこたえてください。もしもし、聞こえてますか前原さん。
If he's about to die, he's gotta at least say, check the clock, bro. I could hear on the other side of the line that he was having a coughing fit. The worst possible situation popped into my
前
head.
原さん、犯人は誰です？何人なんです？
俺も最初は人間が犯人なんだと思いました。
I couldn't tell if that was a call for vomiting.
大丈夫ですか前原さん。
犯人は人間なんだって。お社様のたたりなんかないんだって。ついさっきまで。だけどやっぱり。
That boy is... Yikes. It was an intense bout of coughing, then vomiting.
やっぱりお社様ってのは。いや今
前原さん、どうか落ち着いて。
なんかさっきからずーっとつけてくるんですよ。
Yeah, it has been.
走っても走っても走っても走っても影みたいにぴったりくっついて。
That is fact.
だけど少しずつ俺の背中ににじり寄ってくるんです。
前原さん、そいつは今ひょっとして前原さんの後ろに
後ろにすぐ後ろに。
お願いです前原。怖いのはわかります。ですがあなたの後ろに誰がいるんです？
振り向けるわけないじゃないですか。
Too much fear.
振り向いたら俺
怖いのはわかります。でも教えてほしい。ちょっと振り返るだけでいいんです。前原さんの後ろに誰がいるんです？
Right after I said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound.
前原さん、あんたまさか喉を引っかいてたりはしないでしょうね。
Yep. There was no answer. But I could hear something like scratching. Oh no. There was a bang as if something was being hit. My Barakun had probably dropped the receiver. I could hear groaning and vomiting over on the other end and a repeating, abnormal noise.
もしもし、もしもし、前原さん、もしもーし。
Dang, bro. And you know how far away my voice would sound on the other end, so in the end, they still got him. But I couldn't help but shout. At that moment, I heard whispering coming from the other end. I couldn't tell what he was saying. From the way he was saying it, was he talking to himself? Or was he talking to someone there?
もしもし、前原さん。
Rather than whispering, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. It's just, I'm sorry. I focused my senses, trying to pick up what he was saying. What was he repeating? What exactly? Beep. Suddenly the line went dead. Did he use up his time? It was because it was a payphone. It was because it cut out so abruptly. The last thing he said came out so clearly in my mind.
おいさん、車は OK っす。おいさん。
ごめんなさい。
おいさん。
That's what he was repeating over and over. Yep. He said, I'm sorry. I had a gut feeling. There was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear the chirp of the Higurashi spilling in from the open window. Quee, 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 quee. I should have been able to hear them this entire time. Just wasn't paying any attention. Why did I focus on them all of a sudden? Quee, 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 quee. Were they trying to tell me something? Only the Higurashi knew. That's how I felt. June 1983. In Hinamizawa, a remote village near Shishibone City, there was a murder involving 2 female students. The suspect is Keichi Mibara, aged 1X. The suspect called over his 2 female classmates, Ren Ryugu, Miyoto Nozaki, to his house and beat them to death with a metal bat. That's not even close to true. And it makes you, all of the cases we've seen so far, it brings into question how valid the information we have is. The scene of the crime was the suspect's room on the 2nd floor of his house. The inside of the room was covered with a significant quantity of splattered blood, and there were signs of a struggle with the victims. In addition to the scene of the crime, the entryway, living room, and kitchen all had traces of a struggle. At the entryway, the shoe rack and wall had been evidence of being impacted by a strong blunt force, believed to have been the same bat as the murder weapon. Having no traces of blood, it is believed the destruction occurred before the murders. No way, my webcam, are you serious? There's the possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. In the living room, the rug had been pulled back, then thrown aside. It's hard to believe that this had a connection to the struggle with the victims, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. In the kitchen, the garbage bag was torn apart, and its contents were spread out on the floor. Garbage was strewn about in the surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It is believed that the suspect had for some reason taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists. The reason for this remains unknown. Why did it just disconnect again? Oh my goodness. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge. The words, "Was there a needle?" were written on it. The meaning behind this remains unclear. Just in case, the garbage was searched, but a needle was not discovered. Though the garage door was functional, it had been left open ever since the suspect moved in. The garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of the crime. However, a patrolling officer, Hinamizawa Local Police District, found the suspect collapsed inside a phone booth. At the time of discovery, the suspect was unconscious in critical condition. He was rushed to the local hospital for treatment, but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. The results of the autopsy indicate the immediate cause of death to have been hypovolemic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed at his own throat with his fingernails, and the resulting bleeding caused his death. With the similarity to the death of Tomotakis-san the prior week, the police believe there to be a connection and have opened an investigation. However, due to the wishes of the local authorities, it will be a confidential investigation. Due to the abnormal nature of the death, it was suspected that drugs were involved, but as with Tomotakis-san, no traces were discovered. What prompted all this remains inexplicable. As such, this case is being treated as an act committed on impulse. However, with several accounts of the suspect's bizarre behavior leading up to the incident, it's possible that this was premeditated. Separated from his group of friends, isolation, inexplicable behavior. Several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect was observed displaying aggressive behavior, as well as talking to himself at school. His classmates have actually heard portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his own death. Due to these circumstances, the police have begun an investigation on the possibility that this crime was not committed on impulse, but was instead planned several days in advance. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room that he had written himself. The note was written on 2 sheets from a B5 college-ruled notebook that had each been torn in half. As if trying to conceal it, it was stuck hidden behind a clock on the wall. The contents are as written in the appendix. The police believe it to be strongly related to the incident. The police changed their line of investigation based on the possibility that the suspect was involved in some sort of incident himself, so that thing actually did clutch up a little bit. However, no further clues were found, casting doubt on the credibility of the note. Oh no, that's not good. Was the crime impulsive or premeditated? With the situation unclear and no further developments, the case has been labeled as unresolved. However, the following year, suspicion arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was not written on 2 halves of B5 paper from 2 separate sheets. What was originally a single sheet of B5 paper. Ooh. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Judging from the size of the letters, the missing section is estimated to be 2 to 3 lines. It is highly probable that the person who eliminated the lines in question is not the suspect. In addition, judging from traces of large quantities of cellophane tape being stuck to the back of the clock, speculation that something other than the note was stuck there has arisen. Yes, they didn't find the syringe. The person who first discovered the crime is a detective rumored to have a connection with the incident, Kurado Oishi. He underwent voluntary questioning, but denies involvement in any damages to the note. The suspect's note. I, Keichi Mibara, am in fear for my life. I do not know why they are after my life. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This is all in the first sheet. The section below this has been ripped out. This is from the second sheet. The section above has been ripped out. I have no idea why it has become like this. If you're reading this, then I'm probably already dead. They may or may not find my body. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. Keichi Maibara. So yeah, it was the syringe. So whatever was in there was evidence that could have, like, blown this case open. New scenario has been unlocked. All cast review session has become available to play it. Select extra on the title menu and then pick the all cast review session. Okay. Well, we'll probably go ahead and put that in this episode, whatever that is. But let's go ahead and just start by talking about that. I mean, that was the end of the first chapter, I'd assume. I have the Steam community stuff turned off, so I can't see achievements, but I'd assume that was the end of the chapter. Like chapter 1, Onikakushi. What an ending. Okay, so it's pretty clear. I don't know. I was gonna say it's pretty clear that each chapter, like, is gonna build on this case, which I'd assume, but I mean, that's just pretty obvious. I don't really know anything more than that. Is Keiichi gone for good? Is this going to be like a game like kind of like Zero Escape or AI the Somnium Files, where there's a lot of different routes that will all kind of converge onto each other later? I don't know. So, like, you know, if it's a game with a bunch of different routes, they could all be Keiichi as the protagonist, right? If not, then, like, if it's following up on this, then Rena and Mion are gone, right? For good, right? Which seems unlikely. And same with Keiichi, right? So, I don't know. Maybe we're just going to go into the next chapter and it's going to have a completely different cast. But presumably still in Hinamizawa. But man, that chapter. So, the main takeaway there is that that syringe would have blown the case wide open. Whatever was in that syringe, I mean, I don't know what was in that syringe, but it was so dangerous that somebody had to have found this note first and, like, taken the syringe and hid it, right? Unless it was Oishi-san that found it and he's been doing stuff with it, but I highly doubt it. I'd assume somebody found it and took it. And allowed the rest of the note to stay. In terms of what is probably the overarching story, that's probably the most relevant. What is in that syringe, right? And also, of course, what's relevant is stuff like Oyashiro-sama, right? Is that curse real? Is that curse... Keiichi seemed to believe it at the end, right? Believed that Oyashiro-sama was following him the whole time. Was right behind him always. And it would make sense. It would make sense. Because, I mean, there were lots of times where he felt something following him and there was nothing there. Right? So maybe it was just Oyashiro-sama. I don't know. That one's just really hard to prove. Right? I don't have some sort of good evidence for that. So the question then remains, after all of this, do I believe that it is Oyashiro-sama or the work of man? And boy, is that question, like, impossible to answer. So that's the big thing that I think we need to take from this chapter. Which is real and which is fiction, you know? Are the Rena and Mion that act like demonic, is that just a hidden part of them that is just who they are? Or is that them being, like, possessed by Oyashiro-sama and, you know, Oyashiro-sama having control over the whole village, and that's why they always have information, right? Either way, it seems like the village is working as a whole, right, to, like, in this conspiracy, right? But is that the work of humans deciding on this, or Oyashiro-sama controlling them? I don't know. When I don't know, I tend to lean towards the not supernatural explanation, and say it is just the work of people, right? Mion's family has like brainwashed her maybe into all of this Hinamizawa, like all the stuff regarding Hinamizawa. Rena, was fearful of all the stuff she'd heard and like let those ideas control her and became a part of this. The only difficult thing regarding that is when you see things like Rena in the rain or like crying, right? Or Mion when she was crying outside of the school because Keichi like wasn't going to be her friend anymore, right? It just it feels so real, right? That I could buy the idea that Yashiro-sama is like possessing people, right? I don't know. Just don't know. I don't know if I can really make a call. Like I normally would go with a non-supernatural explanation, but maybe I'm just being too hopeful, but it kind of feels like the supernatural explanation makes sense here. It kind of does, right? Keiichi seemed to agree with it on his deathbed, but it seemed like he probably got injected with whatever that syringe was and thought he hadn't been and just went nuts and tore out his own throat. Unless that was just a defense mechanism to keep, himself from being taken over by Oyashiro-sama. I don't know. Honestly, it's tough. I'm kind of slightly leaning towards the supernatural here. But at the same time, I could see it just being the work of man. Right? But at the end of the day, that syringe makes me think it's the work of man, actually. I kind of take it back. Right? I don't know what that syringe does. What that syringe did. If we find out what's in that syringe, I bet we could definitively answer it. I bet we could. This is so difficult. I know I'm kind of just looping the same points, but like, I just don't know, man. Like, that's just the question. Is Oyashiro-sama behind everything, or is it some, human force, human group? That syringe feels definitively human, but what would that syringe do that could cause people to act the way they are? Or is it just some form of groupthink? I don't know. Both explanations make a lot of sense to me. I don't think I can really say until I've made a little more progress, or just think on it a little more at least. I feel like I probably could make a better decision. I'll have to, while I'm away, because I'm going to be gone the next week, like I've said, or after recording this, I might just start writing some stuff down for either side, and just comparing, see what makes sense to me, what doesn't, right? I don't know. But anyways, let's talk about my thoughts on Higurashi Chapter 1. Higurashi Chapter 1 was amazing. I'm in love with this game. I absolutely love this game. It's very tense. I love the slice of life that's in it. The story is very interesting. The plot, and the mysteries are very strong. I loved it. Loved it. And I just randomly was thinking, what did they rate the difficulty of this chapter as at the beginning there? Was it on easy? We can just check real quick, I think. Right? Let's start and we will right after this. Oh no, it's right here. Extremely high. Extremely high. Okay, so So this probably isn't meant to be solved right now. The truth is, I highly doubt is this Oyashiro-sama, or is this, just man. I doubt it's meant to be solved right now. But there's a non-zero chance that this is the type of game where if I looked at every single piece of evidence and compared them for, ages and saw what made sense and what didn't, I could figure it out. So I might do that while I'm away. If I come up with any interesting results, I'll put them in a video. If not, I'll just let you know when I start the next one. But I really enjoyed this. The difficulty was really high. The mystery is... It's not even that it's confusing, it's that there's so much. What do you believe? Am I being too naive to believe it's Oyashiro-sama and not humans? Right? Am I just saying that because I want Rena and Mion to be good? Right? Am I falling for the bait? Could be. I could be. Oh no. Let's check out what this extra was. All cast review session. I mean, is it literally just like a review of what this was?
はい、日暮らしの泣く頃に水、鬼隠しをプレイされた皆さん、お疲れ様でした。いかがだったでしょうか。ちょっぴりでも楽しんでもらえたらとっても嬉しいです。
I enjoyed it.
ちょっぴりも何も、あんなすごいバッドエンドで終わられたらプンプンでございますことよ。
Fair. I thought it was a good ending.
プンプンなのです。今回の鬼隠しは全体の謎に挑む人たちが最初に通るお話だから実質上のプロローグの位置づけなんだって。
Somewhat of a prologue. Okay. I could see a lot of the information we got here being useful later, so I'm definitely going to keep it all in mind for sure.
そのプロローグがこんな凄まじいバッドエンドでございますの？
I've seen some prologues with dark endings. Prologues I feel like are more prone to have dark endings than a non-prologue chapter.
でもそういうのってあるじゃん。この最悪のバッドエンドを回避するためにプレイヤーさんが物語を模索していくのがこの作品の醍醐味だし。
まだ始まったばかりですよ。僕は次のお話が楽しみなのです。
Me too. I am also looking forward to it.
これからどんな話が待ち受けてるんだろう。レナは聞いてる？
うん。他のシナリオにはどんな展開があるんですの？
Yeah, that could mean a lot of things.
今回の鬼隠しではHinamizawaで近年起こった連続開始事件が紹介され
Like
た
a
でし
whole
ょ。
nother layer to this. Not just like expanding on that.
例えばみーちゃんのシナリオではHinamizawaの古い歴史なんかが紹介されるんだって。
Interesting.
異常事態の連続ですっかり分かんなくなっちゃったけど、お社様のたたりってどういうものなのか。いや、そもそもお社様って何なのかあまり説明なかったからね。
Yeah, that's the question, huh?
よくは聞いてないんだけど。
Those answers, or like the answers to these questions, are like, I mean, frankly, what we need. What is a Yashiro-sama? What is the curse about? Like, why?
でもなんか嫌な予感。
Valid.
またしてもたたられそうな嫌な物語です。
Probably.
ケイちゃんも大変だね。今度はどんなたたりにやられるやら。
Probably nothing good.
どんなお話になるのか楽しみでございますわね。
いやいやいやいや、遅れてすみませんね。
Yeah, man.
やあみんな。
Oh, Tomatake. It has been ages, huh? It's been a minute. I wonder... It really depends. I don't know. Like, do they even have enough of a cast left to not do something like I was saying earlier, like AI the Somnium Files or Zero Escape, like did, where all of the things kind of converge on each other and somehow that information all makes its way into one route? I don't know. I don't think they would do it like that, maybe, right? Like, you as the player can maybe understand all of that information, but I don't know. I can't really delve into what I mean too much without spoiling Zero Escape or Somnium Files, I suppose. But, like, the idea that the player has to complete, like, all of these routes, I guess, to kind of get the true ending, right? And somehow all of this information is combined. Like, is that how this is going to work? I don't know. I don't know what, like, avenue they would use to actually combine all of that. So, it makes me not so sure. We'll just have to wait and see when we get there. I don't know. Like, is Keichi coming back? Because, I mean, Keichi, Tomatake-san, Rena, and Mion, all dead. right? I mean, Tomotage-san, he was an alright dude, but we'd live without him, right? But Keiichi, Rena, and Mion? Yeah, it doesn't feel like the cast would be fine without all three of them, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if it's some kind of reset, right? In like a different scenario, you know? Which, I was just saying that because I was seeing Tomotage and I was like, I wonder if I'll ever actually see him again.
お疲れ様。
I mean, not that it's guaranteed we'd see him again in a route like that, but I could see it.
お疲れ。あれ、ケイちゃんは？
ケイチ君はもう次のシナリオの台本読みに行っちゃってるんだよ。
Boy wants to see how brutally he
主
dies.
人公だから大変だね。
Yeah. Okay, so I think that soft confirms the idea that it's some kind of reset, different scenario.
あれ、残念ですね。ちょっとだけでも顔を出してくれればよかったのに。
Yeah, imagine, bro. He just didn't have
きっと
sprites.
喋るワード数が多すぎて居残りなのです。
That's what I'm saying, bro. I just said that.
前原さんのセリフだけで普通のアドベンチャーゲームなら
Oh,
全員分の量があります
That
から
boy
ね。
It sounds like a skill issue to me.
うん。
Sounds like
し
a
か
you
し
problem.
ケイチ君やレナちゃんなんか特にだけど大変なお話だったね。
Yeah.
大変も何も大体バッドエンドでございますわ。
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure it gets much worse than that. But
結局ケイチ君を襲ったのって正体は何なんだろう。
たたりに見せかけておいて実は人間の仕業ってのが僕の推理なんだけどね。
I mean, like that would make sense. But
でもケイチは最後に謎の電話をかけてきていましたのです。
yeah, that's another good
う
argument.
ん。私もあの電話は変だと思ったね。あの時点でケイちゃんは犯人は人間だと確信してたはずなのにさ。
おかしな電話でしたわよね。なんかお化けに追いかけられてるみたいな。
Yeah.
あの電話だけだとやっぱり犯人って人間じゃなくてたたりなのかなって思っちゃうよね。
せっかくですから意見を出してみようじゃありませんか。
Should I be going through this? Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. They wouldn't
じ
spoil
ゃあ
it.
園崎さんから。
But is this just kind of like
私は絶対に人間説。
of what different characters would think?
hinamizawaの怪しい昔語りかなんかになぞらえて誰かが起こしてる人為的事件だと思うね。
I'd generally probably agree with that, but there's also so many weird things going on that I can't immediately agree with that.
確かに毎年お祭りの日になると起こる連続開始事件なんて怪しいもんね。
その連続開始っていうのも何かの昔語りの再現なんだよきっと。
私はたたりだと思いましたよ。玄関で圭一さんが暴れたシーンとかラストの電話のシーンとかを見れば人間が犯人では説明がつきませんもの。
Those are the big ones indeed, huh? Those are the ones I've kind of been addressing this whole time, right? When he felt that presence and there was nothing there, right? When he was on the phone call, he was saying, there's something right behind me, right? Just like he'd felt before, right? Could that be paranoia bred by insanity? Of course it could. That's the, if it is human, that's the explanation for those, of course. But who knows? I'm sure you guys know. I don't though.
そういえばそうだよね。とても人間の仕業とは思えないシーンだったし。
僕はそれでも人間が犯人だと思うね。あの玄関やラストのシーンは追い詰められた圭一君の被害意識からの妄想じゃないかって思うんだ。
Yeah, that's one of the big things I've been saying. Man, Tomotage, I'm with you.
難
Though.
しい言葉を使われてもわかりませんわ。つまり怖がりの圭一が見た幻だと言ってるのです。
I could definitely see it.
じゃああのシーンの正体は圭一さんの後ろにいた謎の気配は何なんですの？
Nothing.
影だよ引っ掛け。
みーちゃん、引っ掛けってどういう意味？
Something to make you. Like, obviously, I don't need to actually explain what it is, but in this case, you know, I could see that as a red herring, right? You know, it's something that has driven me off of the idea of it being 100% man, right? I look at that, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. That could make it the curse, and then now I'm kind of thinking about it like, that could just be a red herring.
と 富武のおじさまが言うようにさ、あのシーンは追い詰められたケイちゃんの被害妄想のシーンなんだよ。それを濃密に書くことでプレイヤーにたたりだと思わせようとする演出なんだよ。だから引っ掛けってわけ。
それを言われると、でも
まあそういう可能性もあるってことだよ。
Yeah, they're obviously not
だ
gonna
とす
spoil
る
it,
と
but
犯人は複数で村ぐるみっていう劇中の大石さんの推理は正しいのかな。当の本人の大石さんはどう思いますか？
私ですか。悩みますね。
yeah, it does.
あれ、僕はてっきり大石さんは人間説だと思ってましたけど。
劇中の私は犯人は人間だと断じてますが、人間が犯人だとするといろいろ不可解なことが多いんですよ。
That's kind of the problem. Like why everybody suddenly just is able to flip a switch and become insane like that, right? Like, I don't know, unless it has something to do with a drug. Like, unless we're gonna go full, like, mind control drug here, right? Like, in that syringe, then I don't know. Like, what is causing people to flip like that? Right? Only at certain times, you know?
例えばどんな？
You!
大石刑事さんの推理を聞かせてください。
まず人間が犯人だとすると、絶対に動機が必要なんで
That, of
す。
course, is a big one.
こういうことをして誰が得をするのかってことなんです。
つまりおじさま、人間が犯人なら連続開始事件を起こすことによって誰かが得をしなくちゃいけないってこと？
My best guess is like obfuscating the cause of the very first death, right? The construction worker. Wait, oh, was that line cut out too? The line saying to reinvestigate the first case? Okay. Ooh, wait. Okay, so the syringe and the first case. So that might have something. It might be. It might all come back to that first case. Like I was kind of just implying, but hadn't even thought about it from that angle.
そういうことです。ダム開発の関係者が死ぬうちは利害も感じられましたが、近年の犠牲者はそれとも無縁です。
Well, maybe to keep up the visage that, like, that's what they're all there for. Or, like, that's what all the deaths are. It's just all been a curse this whole time. It never had anything to do with the village.
第一、前原さんを殺して誰が得をするというんです？
People who don't want information to spread.
なるほど。そう言われると僕も弱いな。
だってお金とかも取られてはいないんですもの。人間が犯人なわけありませんわ。でもそうとばかりは限らないんじゃない？
I mean, same with Tomatake. He knew too much.
さっきみーちゃんが言ったように何かの昔語りの再現そのものに意味があるんだとしたら
To convince people that it wasn't people.
そういうこと。これは営利殺人じゃないんだよ。きっとこれは村の血塗られた歴史を再現するための何らかの儀式的殺人じゃないかなって思うわけ。
Man, I'm not sure I can agree with you this time. It's possible, though.
では聞きますですが、それを再現すると誰か得をするのですか？
Some nut job, I guess.
得をするんじゃなくてもっと心理的なもの。僕は何かの復讐じゃないかと思うね。土着的な何か。
An act of revenge. Could it tie back to the first case? I don't know.
今回のシナリオでは語られなかった因縁だよ。
Of course, yeah. Oh, that's the lead into chapter 2, huh? Yeah.
なるほど。過去にひどい扱いを受けた暴家の人たちが先祖の恨みを晴らすためにってな感じですか？私はそれにも反対ですね。
じゃあ何？ 大石さんはまさかたたり派なわけ？
I think he unironically
そうで
is.
すわそうですわ。刑事役の大石さんが言うんですもの。たたりに決まってますわ。
劇中で前原さんが言うように、お社様が竜宮さんや園崎さんに乗り移って悪さをしているって考える
That would be convenient.
と一番辻褄が合うんです。残念ながら。
実はレナも大石さんと同じ意見なの。
You're biased.
あんなに優しかったレナやミーちゃんが突然おかしくなるなんてそうじゃなきゃ説明つかないもの。
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big things. God, it is tough. They're really.
そこは
This is a surprisingly interesting
ミオンの
segment.
私が言うのも変だけど、やっぱり私なんだと思う。
I can respect you saying that at least. This is a kind of strange segment, but I really like it, right? In that it's making me think about all the possibilities, right? I was already discussing a lot of these, like, I would say with you guys, but like I've also kind of pre-recorded these, so it's not really with you guys, with myself, right? Trying to understand more, discussed a lot of these, but kind of bringing viewpoints, some that I hadn't really considered. There are a few things I've thought about more because of this. They haven't like
ミーの話の意味が分かりにくいのですよ。
him like blatantly spoiled or anything, but
説明が欲しいのです。
just more possibilities, more thinking, you know?
ああ、ごめん。つまりさ、これってすっごく残酷な話なんじゃないかって思うんだよ。
Yeah, I could see that either way.
何ミーちゃん、それってひょっとして。
突き詰めるとそうなるのかな。僕もちょっと疑ってる。
つまり竜宮さんも園崎さんも実は本当にああいう性格で、引っ越してきたばかりの前原さんを騙している悪魔なんだと。
I hope not, but this story might be cruel enough to go there.
こういうわけですか？
そんなの嫌ですわ。ふわー、これは全部たたりの仕業なんですのよ。
It's a lot easier to believe it's a curse than humans around you, you know?
レナさんもミオンさんもみんな優しい、いい人がいいのですの。レナもそうだな。レナやミーちゃんって本当にいい人なんだって思う。きっと劇中で出てきた厳しいシーンは何かに取りつかれてたんだって思うの。
レナもたたり派か。じゃあたたり派の皆さんにお聞きしますけどさ、たたりが起こるからにはそれなりの理由があるんでしょ？
I mean, fair. Either way, we don't know a motive,
無
though.
差別にたたるとは思えないな。そこんとこ説明できるの？
たたりはたたりですもの。人間の考えでは想像もつきませんわ。
It's not really completely true, though.
さとこちゃん、擬人化された神様という存在は結局は人間の生み出したものなんだよ。だからその考え方も人間に理解できるようにできてる。ギリシャ神話の神様を見てごらんよ。泣いたり怒ったり嫉妬したり、とにかく人間的なんだよ。
Yeah.
つまりお社様もまた人間同様に何らかの利害に基づいてたたりをしている
For
という
sure.
ことですか？
But what would that benefit be?
変な言い方になっちゃったけど、つまりはそういうこと。
触らぬ神にたたりなしって言いますからね。
Hey, you said that in the story. Can I say that
一理
again?
あります。
つまりお社様にせよ人間にせよ何か理由があるはずということなのです。
Yeah, we're not deep enough to really know.
でもリカ、その理由がはっきりしないならどうなりますの？つまりはわかんないというそうだね。まだプロローグだもんね。
Yeah, so
明
lots
か
to
され
go.
ていないことがたくさんあるだろうし。
More information will obviously make this more clear.
そうだね。現時点ではこれ以上の推理は難しいね。
いんにゃ、白黒つけないと納得できないな。
ミオンさんもこだわりますのね。
I feel that, though.
限られた状況で最大限に推理する。ちょっぴり部活感覚で面白いでしょ？
I guess so.
面白いかも。
It is quite interesting. Oh,
じゃあ整理してみましょうか。私はたたり派です。富武さんは人間派でしたよね。
ええ、僕は人間が犯人ってことでいきます。
私も人間犯人説。もちろんタタリというファンタジーは嫌いじゃないよ。だけど今回の事件に限ってはタタリの線は薄いね。
fair.
人間派が2人出ましたね。竜宮さんはたたり派でしたよね。
はい、
They
レ
just
ナと
split
サ
it
トコ
like
ちゃんは
50-50.
たたり派です。
I don't remember exactly how many people were here. Was it 6?
ええ、たたり派ですわよ。レナさんやミオンさんのことを悪魔みたいに言う人の方がよっぽどたたりに合う
That
べ
the
きで
club
すの。
music is playing. Like the board game club. Like when things get dramatic.
そりゃあまあ私も自分のキャラがそんな悪魔みたいなやつだとは思いたくないけどさ。部活モードの時にはクールでなきゃ。感情論だけで選ぶと大やけどするよ。
Fair. That is accurate.
まあどっちを選んだっていいじゃないですか。
あれ、リカちゃんがまだだね。どっちだと思う？僕はお社様が悪い神様だとは思わないですよ。
あれ、面白い意見だね。
Okay, so what does that mean? You think it's humans misconstruing what Oyashiro-sama would want?
たたってばかりの悪い神様なら祀るのは嫌なのです。僕はたたるよりご利益のある神様の方が好きなのですよ。
Fair.
そっか、リカちゃんって巫女さんをやってるんだよね。うん、いい意見。
じゃあ何？リカちゃんはお社様じゃないって思うならやっぱ犯人は人間って思うわけ？
そういうことにしますのです。
Close enough.
ありゃまあ票がざっくり分かれましたね。たたり派と人間派で半々ですか。
That's an interesting question, actually. What did the... Okay, I guess these aren't voiced. Rena-chan, just for reference, what did the test players who played the beta version think? Yeah, there were a lot more players who believed in the people explanation. See, right there. Our veteran comrades are cool, collected, and very observant. But the beta version only finished partway through the story. That's right. Even the people who played the beta might change their minds if they got through to the very end.
どうすんのさ。これじゃ意見は半々。決着がつかなくて面白くないよね。
Keichi.
裁判官が奇数なのはつまりそういうことだからね。あと一人意見が欲しいな。
あ、ならちょうどいいかな。ケイチ君本人に聞いてみない？
Keichi Sprites? Hog? Just kidding.
たたり殺された本人の意見は貴重ですよ。
That's fair. In his dying moments, he certainly thought curse.
そうと決まれば早速電話ですわ。
We calling him? No Keiichi Sprites. Never that.
もしもし、ケイチ君、レナです。今お仕事お忙しいですか？
ああ、忙しいぞ。シナリオが1本終わって一休みって思ってたらすぐに次のシナリオだもんな。
ケイちゃんどんな感じ？忙しいって？
Yep.
うん、拗ねてる。
聞こえてるぞ、こら。お前ら打ち上げ会でいいよな。俺も出たかった。
収録の残りゼリフ数で僕たちの誰か一人でも抜いたらケイチも参加できるのですよ。
Yo, that's so disrespectful.
リカ、あの量でそれは不可能ですわ。あ、それで
I love
ご
that
め
they're
んね、
just
ケイチ
saying
君。
it. He's not here because we didn't draw any art for him. He has no sprites.
今回のシナリオでね、ケイチ君、死んじゃったじゃない？犯人は誰だろうねってそういう話をしてるの。
つまりさ、ケイちゃんを殺したのは人間かお社様のたたりかってことで意見が分かれちゃってるのよ。
Well, I think at the end of the day it was him that killed him.
本
But
当にごめんね。台本読みで忙しいところ、ケイチ君はどっちだと思うかな？
そんなの決まってんじゃねえか。
どっち？
どっちなんてもんじゃねえよ。村の怪しげな奴らに狙われて、さらにお社様とかいう怪しいのにたたられて、
I mean,
人間もたたりも全部。
that'd be
これは
interesting.
何かの嫌がらせか。
かわいそかわいそです。
Dang,
今度頭をなでなでしてあげますですよ。
he needs it.
結局意見が分かれちゃったね。
Wait, he had beta art? What was the beta art key again? Other art? P. That's the remake. That boy was jacked in the remake. That boy was tubby in the original. Yeah, the more we look at it, I'd say the more I definitely am drawn to console the most.
私ももう一度考え直してみます。
I haven't seen Oishi in the others. I mean, remake's not bad. Again, I still prefer console, I think. Yeah, they all kind of look like the same character, I suppose. I don't mind it. But I think his is probably one of the better ones across all three.
見落としがあるかもしれませんので。
Whoops.
それでは引き続き日暮らしの泣く頃に水をお楽しみくださいね。
See, it's already released, so I don't need to look forward to it. I'll just play it when I get back. Back to the main menu. In that case, that is it for this chapter. I actually do want to look at... I'm actually going to go back to extras. We're going to look at the tips one last time. Because it would appear some of my knowledge about the damn murder is just a little mixed up. A little too far. Whoops. Okay. Trying to just remember kind of who was who. Yeah, that didn't really give me any information, actually. Just like who was, I guess, like the manager. Okay. Left with a body which nobody could have mistaken as alive. Okay. Because they said something about an autopsy, right? Or like, in like, I might need to review that, like some of the videos, because I'm just not understanding. Who was it that Keichi was saying was still alive? Was he saying the actual victim was still alive, the one who got like dissected, or was he saying this guy who went missing is still alive? Which, I mean, would make sense. He was the director of this murder, but it said something specifically about like the construction project manager, and I just didn't know if they'd ever said that anywhere. Is that not here anywhere? No. Okay, well, it looks like I'm not gonna quite get the information I need. I'm guessing they just mean the one who got away, right, is not actually dead, even though they were assumed so. So that is like it for real for chapter 1 Onikakushi. Like I said, really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. I'm looking forward to playing chapter 2 Watanagashi, right? I hope to see you guys there. It'll probably be out in, I'll start recording here in like a week and a half or so from when I'm recording this. Oh my goodness, I gotta leave for my flight in an hour and a half. Let's hope I can render this in time. If not, I guess you'll be seeing this a little later than I planned. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said, hope to see you guys there. Peace.